All right, folks. Woo! I don't know what to say. I can laugh. I'm allowed to laugh. I'm allowed to laugh. Hey, locals. Yeah. Yeah, it is. I see it. We will start to get some votes, though, pretty soon, because we got some special elections. Obviously, House 14, Clayton Fuller, it's a matter of his margin. All right. It's a matter of his margin. All right, folks, welcome to Between the Numbers, which I just threw up on you super, super quick, just like this. All right, look, obviously, we're waiting for Georgia to roll in here. This is a Trump plus 37 district. The overperformance, underperformance, if there is one or any for someone, is what we're more interested in here than actually who wins. Clayton Fuller is obviously the heavy favorite here. This is the district to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay. All right. If we go home here real quick before any of this happens, I am interested tonight in the Waukesha mayoral race. Waukesha is a very important area in the state of Wisconsin. And this is a state that will, as I said on Monday, which is something you'll have to, come to grips with as we start to wait for these results to roll in, is that Wisconsin is a very strongly anti-war state. They do not like war. They do not like Republicans. They only voted in the Trump era for certain proposals. It is incredibly, who do you trust more to keep us out of foreign wars question is incredibly predictive in a state like Wisconsin. We'll start to see some kind of swings. Look, you're going to hear the Republicans make an excuse tonight because their candidate is going to get thrashed. And the excuse is basically going to be something along the lines of, but it's not really our fault. We were grossly outspent. Right. Because you're distracted, as I warned everybody, would be the practical consequence of starting a war. This is like politics 101. And if you didn't know this, then you're a noob. And that's all there is to it. And not you guys, but, the other people who are clearly just dumb, just stupid people. Right. So donors have been putting all of this money into their causes. We all know, do I really have to say it out loud? All right. So this just wasn't important to them. All right. This isn't on the, I didn't say Republican agenda at this point. I mean, the Republican Party's been completely co-opted. I don't know what else to sell. I don't even know what else to tell you guys. It's been completely co-opted. Why is this important? Because it's not just a midterm that Republicans risk by starting this war. It's the reapportionment that's going to be coming. It's the Voting Rights Act in the South that even if it's a favorable decision, the legislatures now will not be the ones who rewrite those maps or approve those maps. A state Supreme Court is going to be the ones who hear those challenges, right? And in Wisconsin, look, they have a long way to go in the court in Wisconsin, but North Carolina was just battled back. It was wrested back from liberals who did everything from strike down referendums on voter ID and other, and by the way, Second Amendment issues. And now they're going to obviously deal with the Voting Rights Act when that comes down. Unfortunately, it looks like Republicans will lose every single statewide race in that state. So I just don't think that, not that I don't think, I know they just clearly didn't. People, even some of the smarter ones on the right, were not fully grasping the severity of the consequences from this decision. And it's a shame because, I don't think he cares. Just telling Andrew from TPUSA this. It's so much more than what everyone even thinks they totally understand. It's the census question, the ability to get that through the comment process and address the Supreme Court's issues with that. Guys, that's 20 seats right off the table for the Democratic Party. So it's like Republicans win this like massive comeback victory, and they get in a position where they can secure the House map for the net, because the census, they screwed up on this one. They just did. But they're in a position where they can get those, wheels in motion to be able to do this in a way where it's like court proof, it's suit proof, and get it going. And they have completely abandoned their agenda, a real agenda, like an agenda. I don't want to use this word because it's such a but fortified their electoral dominance and their electoral position going forward. All right. So while we wait for some votes in Georgia to come down, which I think, it's 7-11 now. Let's get into the real quick, because we're waiting on some here. So it just doesn't even matter. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. We have this. This is awesome. We'll be able to see who's performing under, over, etc. I have something locals. I'll wind up probably sharing it with you guys first, but we have this like target next month for the race in Kentucky 4, which we're polling right now, which I want to talk to you about in a second. We have this like target spreadsheet, so you'll be able to see whether or not each candidate is hitting their targets. Look, that district, we can have one show and I can run it down for you on what you need to be looking at in this district. And Boone County, Kenton, Campbell, the rest of the district, which I'll obviously file down there, based on the turnout percentage that we'll see, which I think is going to be high. I think it is. And where it's like, I'm at a point now, a month before the election, I'm at a point where every pollster comes to, where you have to start to believe certain people that maybe don't typically vote, but are telling you repeatedly now, yes, I'm going to vote. There's a couple of things about that district which are interesting and that people need to understand. Turnout being higher or lower, if you're looking at this and you separate or you divorce yourself from the specifics of the race in Kentucky 4, you would think, okay, the lower the turnout, the better for Massey, because Massey's got this older base. It is rural, Appalachia rural. Barnes is right about that. Our polling found something that's different from conventional wisdom, which is that, and it doesn't surprise me, which is that the incumbent benefits from the lower turnout. That's true typically. But in this case, you have Trump going after Massey, and Trump has one group with him solidly in most places around the country. And that group is the reliable boomer Republican voter. Many, and they lean male, by the way, but there's no cap. I mean, there's no elasticity to that voting group if we're looking at various turnout models. They're basically stuck at what percentage they can get. Their ceiling is low. It's capped. That's it. Why? There's no growth in voter rate, not from migration, state to state migration, not from movers, nothing, not from mind changers or previous Democrats. There's nothing. This is what I have been trying to explain to what is left of MAGA for a long time. This was what was so attractive about America First as a movement. They were adding those new voters. The younger right, below 65 right, doesn't look like them. They don't think like them. And the funny thing is, all of the new registrations in Kentucky's 4th congressional district are not Trump-friendly kind of Republicans. And that's kind of reverse from what you'd see nationwide, which is younger voters, unlike, the millennials and people who are just like a little bit younger than me. I'm a millennial, where they had this like libertarian strand. Like when we were the 18 to 30 crowd, we had a very pro-libertarian lean, Rand Paul kind of, right? Pat Buchanan even. That's not really true of younger right-wing voters now. They're more nationalist. They're not really ideological and libertarian, consider themselves libertarian. They're just not. And they're more national. And you would think that tends to bode well for Trump and like a Trump candidate, but it doesn't in the 4th district. All right. So I will tell you this right off the bat. Thomas Massey is leading with every single voting age group except for 65 and above. All right. The question is, Can Gowron break into a Gallrain? Well, we were having this debate over in locals earlier. I mean, I've heard his name like pronounced like three different ways, and I was kind of like making fun of it a little bit before, but the 45 to 64 age cohort in that primary will be the deciding age cohort. And right now, Massey leads with them. Massey has, and I have a little bit of a surprise, a little bit of a secret for you guys, and if you were paying attention, you probably know. We have been talking to voters in this district for about a month. It was tightening. And since last week, what we noticed when we really jumped in and started to talk to you guys about stuff we were seeing is that they haven't been able to tighten it anymore to get any closer to Thomas Massey. And I'm not going to say it yet. I don't want to throw the baby, I don't want to throw it all out there. I don't want to jump the shark here, whatever the expression is. But Massey's lead was big 4 or 5 weeks ago. They spent a ton of money against him, and that lead obviously has been hit, but it's just not good enough. So what happened is what I kind of suspected would happen. In order for Ed to win, or Trump to win, let's be honest, because, I mean, Ed Gallron is a never Trumper, all right? I mean, let's cut it. Let's be real here. Let's talk real talk here. Ed is a never Trumper. He has always disliked Donald Trump. The guy left the Republican Party when it nominated Donald Trump in 2016 and didn't come back until Joe Biden was inaugurated. And, the CCP helped, Joe Biden beat Donald Trump. But this is Trump's candidate. And as of right now, it's not even fair to say 65 plus. It's more like men who are 65 plus. Now, the good news for Trump and Ed is that they vote at higher rates. All right. If you look at this district, I think it's probably going to be like 50-50. Right. It's a little less male than it is female. But when you consider that men appear that they're going to vote at slightly higher rates, then I think we're going to end up with a 50-50 split. I wouldn't be shocked if it ended up like 51-52% male. That wouldn't shock me at all. And why does that matter? Men tend to be more anti-establishment. Men tend to be more they're risk takers, more risk takers. So it's like kick the incumbent out kind of thing. That's like men are more inclined to do that. Women favor stability. All right. And I know we don't talk about politics in this way anymore. At least we should probably more often than we do. But that is just the case. All right. But at the end of the day, age and geography are the signals in this race. It's not really about men, women. Why? Because the gender gap is basically it's like canceling itself out. That's not really what the huge signal is here. Massey is bucking the trend here when it comes to the young MAGA dynamic. The district is overwhelmingly more America first than it is MAGA. All right. When we ask people, are you traditional? Are you MAGA? What would you consider yourself? And then if they say they're America first or MAGA, we ask whether or not which one is it? Are you more America first or are you more MAGA? Let me just look at last count right here. Where are you? It is almost there. And by the way, very much. It's like 70, almost 70% America first. A little over 30% MAGA. So it basically breaks down like 68-32. So that is a problem for Trump because when you get voters that say, I'm MAGA, then you know that these are like, I'm trying to be nice. They're Trump, like what's left of MAGA self-identify. If somebody identifies as MAGA given the choice, and yet they take it over America first, it's like, it doesn't look like MAGA a year ago. I wouldn't be surprised if I was like talking to Mark Levin, all right? Or I was talking to that kind of a Republican primary voter or an older one, still, you guys know, right? Don't make me uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying, all right? Most of the growth in registrations in this district is not coming from it's not coming from those demographics and those age groups. And that's Gallrain's problem or Trump's problem. All right. It's very independent minded. It's very, independent's the way to look at it. It just is. Even when you initially ask, are you America First or MAGA over traditional Republican? Traditional Republican only scores like 30%. It's low in this district. Interestingly enough, this district has a higher percentage of independents who say that they used to identify their previous MAGA, America First. They have a higher number than the national average. Again, another good sign for Massey and a bad sign for Ed Galrin. Independents are close. It's Kentucky. It's close primary. Independents cannot vote. However, we know they're not independents. These are registered Republicans, and they're calling themselves independent. They're just like, at this point, I am, yes, a registered Republican, but I don't really want to consider myself a Republican anymore. We're seeing this basically everywhere, and it's unfortunate because it makes sense with the registration data that we're seeing, which is that this long 10-year run of Republicans, gaining on Democrats who always and long had this registration advantage, identification advantage, that reign is over. And now we're starting to see some of the reversals. All right. So, again, I think the age thing is worth focusing on a lot more, even if we just do that now in the kind of like pre-Pollcast, we'll call it, like is what we're calling it. Every time we go to drop a poll, we're going to do these like little caveats. Not caveats. We're going to do a pre-Pollcast, which is explaining what we're seeing. And then when the numbers come out, it really shouldn't shock you. All right. If you spend a lot of money in a district primary like this, or in a primary period, in a contest, and you raise its national profile, and I think this is important because you have somebody like Thomas Massey, who is a face of the Epstein petition. He and Ro Khanna, a Democrat across the aisle, came together to force the release of the Epstein files against the president and leadership's will. Right, so they were trying to bury it. I don't want to break anybody's brain here. This is history. This is how it went. So if you're one of these people who constantly nag me with this, like, Trump got the Epstein files released, I don't understand why you say it's a negative impact. He didn't. He tried to prevent them from being released. That's the truth. That's how this really went down. And everyone in this district basically knows that. So here you have this. You have the Epstein issue. You have all the money being poured into it. It can sometimes backfire, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you're Ed Galrin, you want, or whatever, if you're Trump's candidate, you want a skewed older electorate that, again, probably skews 2 to 4 points more male than it should. And you want these guys to be high propensity voters. The last thing you want is to generate enthusiasm among voters who are typically non-primary voters. They just don't vote in primaries. For especially the 45 to 64 crowd, you want that to be some, people that are tend to lean more higher propensity, tend to skew more men, and that's it. And anybody who's below 45, you want to be basically nothing. 18 to 29%, you're going to want it 2 to 4% of a Republican electorate. 30 to 44, 12, 13. You want it to be overwhelmingly 45 and above. And, if you're them, preferably you want to keep 45 to 64 as small as possible. And you want 65 plus to be much higher. Well, guys, that can backfire when you raise the profile of a race. And everybody in this district has been bombarded with anti-Massey ads. The funny thing is, we can even see, because we asked the questions that we asked, we can even see the media markets that each campaign has dealt with. The bottom line is that Massey has relied more on a ground or grassroots campaign. I understand apparently they're getting up in rural areas soon, and they haven't even been doing that as far as ads. I can see that, right? So you got Boone, you got Kenton, you got Campbell, and then you have some other larger rural districts, but for the rest of rural counties, but for them, for all intents and purposes, the rest of the district is like rural. And you can see that there are people in the burbs, they've been knocked by Massey. There are people in the rurals, some in the rurals have been knocked by Massey, but you really just haven't gotten this big air presence by Massey all across the district the way that you can for the challengers campaign. You can see that. And like 8 in 10 primary voters say they have seen a negative ad against Thomas Massey. There are no door knockers for the challenger. It's low single digits. It's like statistical noise. I'm not even sure it's real at all. They've seen some text messages here and there, but nothing huge like that. Meanwhile, when you ask these voters, have you been knocked by Thomas Massey's campaign? Damn near, basically a third of them say, yes, I have seen door knockers, or they have knocked on my door in support of Thomas Massey's campaign. That's interesting. And we'll see. I mean, basically painting a picture for you that they relied on a heavy air presence, and they were hoping that that would hit older voters, mailers, a lot of mailers, stuff like that. And that would hit older voters, and that would be it. And that's what, that's all you need to do typically to win a Republican primary. The problem is if you overdo it, and then, I don't know, you have the Epstein issue creep in, then, I don't know, you start an unpopular war, which this war is not very popular in this district at all. You start to raise the profile of the race. And I mean, it's fair to say at this point, this is probably one of the more higher profile, if not the highest profile, Republican primary right now. It appears that Donald Trump is slightly underwater among Republican primary voters on the handling of the Epstein files. And then he has some remarkably high negatives compared to what I expected. I don't know. I guess I still expected like 85% broad support across. That is just not the case. Inflation and cost of living. They wish he would get more focused on inflation and cost of living. There's a huge split. The age signal's massive on foreign policy. If you're like 45 and below, you do not like this war at all. If you're like 65, you're like rah, rah, and you're swinging the flag, right? But again, it's not a unified party in this district, and that is what is making it such an interesting race. The most popular, not just Republican, but the most popular person in this district is not Donald Trump. And it's not the incumbent, Thomas Massey. It's the vice president. I think that probably should tell you a lot. All right. Kennedy is also super, and don't get me wrong, Trump is still popular, but the vice president doesn't have these kind of like very unfavorables and strongly disapproves that are a chunk, like 1 in 5. He doesn't have that. And he has a slightly higher, very favorable, and a slightly higher, somewhat favorable. And I just thought that was kind of interesting, given how much of, how could I put this? And by the way, and there's no doubt that Massey's taken a hit with the ads. His numbers are not what they were a month ago. There's just no doubt. I'm not talking about his vote totals. I'm talking about his favorables. They're just not. But I guess I just expected. I've been polling the Trump endorsement and the impact of Trump for a long time. It was nothing for Donald Trump to defeat an incumbent anything. If he wanted to, he'd do it. That'd be the end of it. But we're not seeing that like we used to. All right, we got some votes in Georgia. In Georgia 14. No, right. Okay, this is a Trump plus 37 district. Right now, we're looking at a ballpark of R plus 27. So we'll just see. It is a shift of, it's about, right, 9 points, 9.3. But it's still very early, and we'll see what happens when more votes roll in. I'm going to kind of leave this here for right now. We got some time for Wisconsin, so. And I'm not sure. I was trying to do this before. It's kind of late dinner day, which I cannot stand. But I was trying to do this in that time slot I had real quick. We'll see. Just give me a second. Check stuff out here. All right, so obviously way ahead of the target in Floyd. That's really it's not surprising. But really what's going on is that it's really in the red areas. Yeah. In the red areas, Fuller's just like a little under here, a little under there. We're only at 3.6% of the vote, though, so let's wait till the next dump. I'm more interested, too, in turnout, honestly. We'll see. Look at how many more Democrats use this platform than Republicans. It's like blue hearts, red hearts. It's like 2-1. I told you this industry is dominated by the left. I told you it is. We did good in this. This, by the way, just while we wait for more results, let me just tell you, participation over a several week period in attempts to talk to voters in Kentucky 4 has been extremely high, despite the fact that they are suffering from fatigue badly. They just are. They're over stuff, guys. I mean, they want to be done here. They want this election to be over. I was a little bit also surprised at how many people are still undecided in the Senate race. We did ask about the Senate. It's still very, very much. People are just kind of they're not really paying attention. They're just not. I will say this, from where he was in the beginning to where he is now, I think Andy Barr is on the decline. I do. I think Barr is falling. And I think, I think Morris and Cameron are rising. All right. Let me just say that. I'll leave it there for now. I think Daniel Cameron has the benefit of name recognition, Okay, we got a big chunk here. Well, that's to be expected, right? Don't panic, Republicans. That was a dump from Cobb County. Wow. Yo. Oof. That's an underperformance. Yeah. Let's just wait, though, because there's early vote. Always comes in. It's going to look more Democratic. Yeah, so people know this is early. I believe we have the remaining. We do. Excellent. Margins. That's cool. Swing isn't in yet. It will be once we get more stuff. Let's take a look at the early voting. There were some two Republican areas that, obviously, but it's just going to be so many votes in those blue areas. We'll see. Markets haven't moved. Again, I don't think the winner's in doubt was ever considered in doubt here. Let's keep it on planet Earth. It was just a matter of how much does Clayton Fuller win by. That's, right now I'm more concerned with this table, and we'll see what happens with the rest. This is all the counties. That's it. So as they come in, we'll get them. I'll make them bigger for you guys to see. There's no point for you to look at my mug right now. There should be a dump coming very soon, actually. So one of the worst things about election nights, you're just kind of like waiting, Actually, that's a really good question. I think. Oh, by the way, did you guys hold on real quick? I'll get to you in Virginia in a second. But did you guys notice that Cook made all these rating changes after Barnes and I did our thing yesterday? Did you see that? They moved a bunch of races. They did. They moved Salazar over to likely, Republican off of solid. They moved Nellie Poe from New Jersey 9 from leans D to likely D. That's gone now, away from a target race for Republicans to consider. Ohio 1, which is Greg Landsman, went from a toss up to leans D. I think that's a right call. Emila Sykes leans D to likely D. And then Rob Bresnahan, which is PA 8, went from leans R to toss up. That is a race that Barnes and I both highlighted. I don't know what on earth they were thinking, keeping that lean R in this environment. I mean, look, I understand there's some people who want to obsess over like the morning consult tracking poll that has gone like from R2, R3, R2, R3. Well, the fact of the matter is we've had elections and we can tell, special election data. This is a robust data set for special elections leading up until a midterm cycle. And we are in historic territory for underperformances for Republicans. So, I mean, we've had some really big flips. If you look at the top 10 special election swings, Democrats are on the board this year in multiple slots. So, I mean, if you look over the last like 30 years, you just will not see a cycle outside of when Republicans had one really good one. You will not see a cycle where there's like 3 of them on the top 10 leaderboard in one cycle. And so what do I mean by that? I mean, the bottom line is, I mean, it's very clear that I think what we're seeing is some pollsters would rather understate Democratic performance this time because and I think that's what's going on with Cook, because by the way, they just cannot afford to again understate Republican support. So it's risky to do that. So it better to be conservative, give the incumbent party a little bit more benefit of the doubt so that they can try to claw back some credibility. Especially with the right in the coping, the coping state they're in right now, where they're like clinging to CNN polls to make themselves feel better. That's a good opportunity for some of these guys to try to rehabilitate themselves. All right. Let's go up and look and see what we're at here. We haven't changed anything. And I'm going to go ahead and star this race so I can come back to it real quick. Or I got to star it on the home vault. I do. Give me 1 second, guys. Star, add to the wish list, my races. I'll take it out later. I'm going to take you, put you in my races. Franklin is not as interesting as I once would find it. Waukesha, I will be. Missouri is pretty neat. I mean, I'm going to look at Cape Girardeau and, we'll see. There we go. There's some more election results coming in now. So let's go back to this. All right. Where'd it come from? Let's scroll in. Yeah, I mean, we still have 2 entirely red counties we haven't gotten anything from. I still, bear with me while I try to deal with this. All right, I mean, this just can't be right. Where are we at here? It just can't be right. I know it's early vote return. Okay, so we haven't hit the early vote totals yet. So it's just still a pretty good overperformance by Harris, considering we're only about 60% in like a county like Floyd. We're only about 60% through what we expect for early vote. This is a lot cooler, by the way. I think so. It shows you, in the past, I would have to like give you an idea of what I thought was outstanding with the early vote. We know what the early voting returns are here. You can see that in the 4th column, and in the column before that in votes, we know that the early vote will be reported first. So that's what we've been through so far. So about in a county like Floyd, for instance, about 6,000 votes out of a little over 11,000 that we know from the early vote. Which is why if we're about 60% past that, we're about 35% of the way of what we expect to be totally reported. Polk is so far, or at least we expect it anyway, to be they're the furthest along with total reporting. And in Polk, we should start to see that margin widen for Fuller more, because once we get to about 50%, sometimes a little less, it's like 45, sometimes a little more, sometimes 2/3. It just depends on what was cast that day, which we don't fully know all the time. But as the election day comes in, the Republican margin will expand more. Typically. Give it a minute. Yeah, see, they finally have it up here. This is a Trump plus 37 district, 36.8 to be exact, or actually 36.79 to be exact. Harris, that shift where it says Harris 39.75, that is the current swing of the district. It will not remain that way. However, 40-point ground to make up in early vote totals is for a district like this, guys, it means it's probably unlikely that we'll end up with a fuller plus 37 here. Okay, we'll see. Once we get out of some of these early vote things. Okay, so it goes from this to, and then if I scroll here, okay. So despite the fact that the map ends here, that's why. Let's do that so I know better. It's kind of a pain in the butt. I keep going to scroll and I move the map. Murray, Paulding, Walker, nada, nothing. We are waiting. We are waiting. The most Trumpy county is Murray, and we haven't even seen it. We haven't seen anything yet. But a little over 4,700 people cast an early vote in Murray County. So we haven't seen anything from there yet. And we can see, is there anywhere the Democrat is not hitting their target? Yes, Whitfield. And technically Floyd. Technically. But understand their targets are like crazy because this is such a red district. Their targets are nuts. All right, let's get while we wait. While we wait, let's hit the tips. All the people who say we're doomers are going to take this as a W and say Trump was never going to nuke anything, even though we going to do it. What do you mean, the war? Everything about this war is a negative. There's some special elections I'm just covering real quick.
Is this just locals?
No.
Oh, never mind.
No. How was it?
Sad.
It is sad. That's why I ran out there and said goodbye to her before.
I know you did. I know what you
It just dawned on me. She's on her like driver's ed thing. And I was like, what? My strawberry shortcake?
My badoozle?
My badoozles? My ratatoozles?
Radish Nike.
Radish stinky. I don't mind us. We're just reminiscing. Didn't Trump get someone to run against Massey before? Yes. And he got his ass thoroughly kicked. His butt kicked. He did. He got creamed. Did you already go to Casa? Yeah. Give me a little bit. If I have to heat it up, I will. But yeah, Robert, they tried this before with Massey. What they didn't have last time was Miriam Adelson throwing $20 million into a super PAC. All right. So it is no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt this time around, Massey has a harder fight on his hands. But I mean, I'm just telling you right now, he is leading. The only question is how long can he hold on to this lead? It looks like his lead has stabilized to me. All right. This time they're spending a lot more, but I think Trump 1.0 also endorsed against Massey. Yeah, I mean, that's true. And then he like kind of pulled back because it became clear he wasn't going to win. But I'm telling you right now, the West Wing thinks that Massey's cooked. And they've been thinking Massey was cooked when Massey still had a 30-point lead. I mean, they were just in another world, guys. The $20 million that Miriam Adelson threw at Thomas Massey did not do the trick. So they went back and they got another 5. He's being hit right now with that other 5. Basically, I mean, they have a lot more to unload on him too, but this is the final stretch. And as far as I understand, Massey hasn't been advertising in rural Kentucky at all. He spent in the burb markets. So, it's like Louisville, Cincinnati. Son of a Mitch, I was told 100% of MAGA agrees with what Trump is doing. I mean, that's hilarious. The fact of the matter is, guys, we're wondering who's right and who's wrong. The fact of the matter is, if that was true, you would see, here we have some more red votes. If that was true, if 100% of MAGA agreed with what Trump was doing, you would be seeing 100% of MAGA voting. The coalition would be voting and would be healthy, and you would see it in the votes, not polls. Whether or not there's some polls that are better than others, I guess is not even a question anymore. They need to believe what they need to believe. I know I'm right. It's like not even a doubt in my mind. I know I'm right. And the rest of the data suggests that I am right. And that is like the body of evidence is now, it's overwhelming. Like you have to be a simpleton I mean, we're in that realm now. You have to be a simpleton not to know that. And the funniest thing about all of this is that even though they have delusions like that, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, Massey's done. He's going down. Bro, you're 30 points behind. You just think $25 million is going to do it? Like, you got to have a better game plan than that. And I'm not saying it doesn't. That's a lot of money in a district, guys. That is a lot of money. When Mike Cassidy beat Mike Guest in the first round in Mississippi 3, Kevin parachuted in to help Mike Guest beat Cassidy, who had gotten he finished with a higher percentage of the vote in round 1. He did not spend $20 million. They spent like $3 million. That's about it. And by the way, they spent money at trying to kill Joe Kent too. And then, wonder why Joe Kent lost to Perez. Well, maybe because you were throwing millions of dollars at Joe Kent to tell Republican voters that Joe Kent was a Nazi. I still have a picture of one of those. You remember those mailers? I still have a picture of one of those mailers. They had him next to Bernie Sanders and Adolf Hitler, a war hero, a real war hero. All right, so, listen, Chattooga is a 24-point yuck. All right, so we have that basically fully reported now. That county that we have fully reported, Fuller's going to win it by a little under 40 points. Trump won it by over 64 points. So this is going to be a gross. If he better hope that the rest of, he's going to win it. Don't get me wrong. He's going to win, but this is going to be an underperformance, a bad underperformance. Bad. Just to show you what I'm talking about. Trump plus 64.2, Fuller plus 39.6, and it appears that county is done. So what if that would cut across everywhere, you'd be looking at like a Fuller plus 17, and Republicans could try to spin that all they want, guys, but that is not a good result. It's like, at what point do you just stop making excuses? Like, it's just a special election. It's just a special. It's not just a special election. It's now many, many, many special elections. Did you see that lunar flyby? The photos are epic. Nah, man, I haven't been able to see that yet. I've been buried in polling. I want to see that. NASA, just look at NASA, right? Cool. Let's do that. Oh, man. Wow. Where are the alien bases, bro? Wow. Oh, my God. Laura, you have to see these photos. Incredible. I got to be honest, guys. I'm a little jelly. This is amazing. Although it is weird how they took selected screenshots, And then look at this. I choose to believe this fortune I received tonight, perhaps the moon or the journey to Mars, in a fortune cookie. A visit to a strange place will bring you renewed perspective. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, thank you for that, Cynic, man. That was really cool. Wow. Somebody asked me about Virginia before. Look, I think what's going on is clear. Spanberger ran, and this keeps going back like without me doing it. Spanberger ran as a moderate who was going to deal with cost of living, things like that. And the fact of the matter is, she went hard left. And I don't think that's what people expected. But we're going to see that story everywhere. It won't really matter. They'll keep making voters do this. It's how they operate. As Polk comes in, it's looking like another roughly 20%, a 20-point underperformance by Fuller compared to Trump. Trump won by about 61 points in Fuller, where we got about 19% remaining to be counting, and he's up 37. Floyd right now is the big story. That's the big story, but it's early. It's early vote. So I'm not seeing like these election day massive margins, from Chiduga and Pope. Nah, man, tell him I'll eat that birria taco. No, is it lamb? If it's lamb, forget it, bro. It's mine. I'm just messing with him.
He's like, I'll kill you if you
I'll kill you if you eat my birria taco.
He's like, that's lamb.
So, what time is it? 7:50?
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Whoops. That was the wrong. Oh, no.
I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah, me too. I'll be honest with you.
I'm tired.
I am too. I'm very tired. I got to get up first thing.
All night long last night.
I got to get up kind of early, and I've got to process that poll ASAP. Let's see. I was giving people like a little bit of a last minute. I think we're about done. We could wrap this up now. And I wanted to make sure too. We got plenty of younger voters, and we did. I just kind of left Cynic up there. I think Maria Salazar comes within 5 points. Working late again. Thanks for the stream. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for the tips and the super chats and all that stuff, guys. I mean, really appreciate your support. We're about to see Gillian pretty soon here. Let's go home. Let's go to that. We'll have this soon. So Chris Taylor, which is the liberal candidate. I mean, let me see if I can get you guys the numbers. Hold on. They always do this. All right. Sorry, they needed a snap. Like a. It's ridiculous. I can't remember how much it is, but it's a lot. And I just had it not long ago. It was. I don't want to say what it was, like gross. It's a gross disparity in the money race. Gross. All right, so it will be okay. Let me see. And there's the absentee ballot, early vote. I'm just looking to see how that's done. Yeah, I mean, it's right there. It is what it is. I did it. You can see it. All right, let's go back to Georgia. Sorry, I was reading something. Georgia. Oh, it's doing that. So you're not actually seeing what I'm clicking on. Oh, come on. I had no idea you couldn't see that. Okay, hold on, guys. Hold up. I didn't realize that. Why is it doing that? There's got to be a better way to do it. Hold on. Let me go to my picks, my races. Boop, 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 boop. My watch list. Let's see if I do it from here. Yeah, okay. I got to go from there. Otherwise, you guys, oh my God, how many maps were you guys not seeing? Oh, Lordy. Okay. My fault. As we get familiar with stuff. Let's see what's remaining. Truth is, we don't know. Well, of course we do know because we know what these counties are. Murray is going to be the big red margin. Wait for that. And right now, what we're looking at is Cobb. I mean, if this swing continues, then you will, you're going to see the Democrat carry some of these. Yeah, definitely Cobb, but oh my God, that looks delicious. Come on, Georgia. Again, if you guys just showed up, you'll see when we put the poll out tomorrow. Let me give you some breakdowns here. Massey does better with women. What are we calling him? Cynic? Trump's henchman, Galrin, who's really a never Trumper. It's like so funny. I just can't get over this with Trump, man. It's like his endorsement team finds the worst people to leave his voters with. Ed Galrin is a never Trumper. I mean, he just is. He's a neocon never Trumper. And a COVID lockdown dude. So like I could call Massey a bunch of names too, but I'm saying like I would have found somebody who was like, who liked me if I was Donald Trump to run against Massey. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, Ed does better with men, but really, and Massey does better with women. Massey's clean in the burbs. Ed performs better in rurals. It just, again, the age signal is the big one. Geography, I would say, is second. Massey leads with everybody who's below the age of 65. Garin does better with 65 plus. The critical 45 to 64 group, which will be the deciding group, that is the more persuadable group, and and the elasticity of that group, depending on turnout models, is a big deal. So right now, I mean, Massey's going to win that race. I mean, that's it. There is obviously an impact with the money that's being spent. It has cut Massey's lead, but it does look like his lead has stabilized. We'll see if the Garin campaign has a plan to address that. I'm sure they're polling it. You would see, you had people like that loser cat turd, put that out there. That was like the White House. They knew I was polling it. They were worried I was going to put out a Massey plus whatever. And they told people, so they're like social media people, to go and try to get ahead of the poll. And I know that because someone from them called and said, don't listen to that shit. That's not even true. So they were like, yeah, you're worrying people. It is what it is. It doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to spook me into putting out a different result. What in my career has ever made you think that would happen? I do think it probably will end up being pretty damn close. Oh boy. Oh my God. I mean, the problem that I'm seeing for Republicans, there is not party registration. If you live in a state where there is registration by party, Georgia will be an unfamiliar system to you. These independents can be very impactful in a runoff like this. So you have your parties pick their candidate, and judging by what I saw before, it just looked like there were more independents voting with Democrats. And now that we're in the runoff situation here, I mean, I can go down again and show you that clearly is the case. Democrats are voting at higher rates, and they have more independents voting with them. All right, let me go and get a drink. I'll be right back. Putting myself on mute real quick. Very interesting comment, Robert, on locals, which I'm going to get to in a second. And also yard hatch. Yeah, I do think that's a problem. So yard hatch first. Is Trump pushing bad polling for confirmation bias, or to cry it was stolen when Republicans are crushed? Maybe a little bit of both. But, living in fantasy world isn't going to benefit you. It doesn't work. And I keep getting all the time, reporters, even political polling people, okay, from known websites. We're constantly asking me, what do they hope to accomplish with these this con? Like, what do they hope to, like, what do they hope to accomplish? And I think the answer is, we saw it the other day. Think about this. Their plan that they unveiled to keep the Senate was about $340 million. How much has John Cornyn already spent to keep his seat from Ken Paxton? In round one alone, he spent $100 million. I just don't think they have enough money. They want pollsters to get them close, to keep it realistic, so that when they put all this money into the system, they can try to get those races close. And if you're the pollster, you got to gamble that they can do that. Otherwise, you're going to look stupid after election day. I don't think there's enough money. Even if I entertain doing something like that, which I never would, I don't think there's enough money. You're either going to win because you're going to do what you say you're going to do, or you're going to lose. And that's it. That's not my responsibility to give you a narrative in the hope that you can do that. That's not my job. I don't think people understand Spanberger is a moderate in a party who are majority socialists, so still far left. She's not in charge in VA. It's pretty clear it's Luis Lucas and Don Scott calling the shots. Lucas has publicly been willing to put her and the senators in their place. I think you're totally right. I do. I just think you're totally right. And I think most voters, unfortunately, are just trying to get by, and they don't really think about things like that, And I agree. I think you're right. All right, we're going to see the Republican expand his lead a little bit here. Now we're up to a little over a 4-point lead, which nevertheless is still an underperformance, obviously. And it's not just the overall, so far. Out of what we got, we only have one county that's fully reported. He ran over 24 points behind. He ran over 24 points behind Donald Trump. So it's that would be, if we saw that in every county, that would mean he's going to win by 13 points. I don't know if he's going to get Cobb back. I don't know. I remember when Cobb was a Republican suburb. Cobb. It's not anymore. Trump won that part of the county, though. He did. Actually, you can see it right here. It's the only light one. He won it by 9.4. By the way, this should give you guys a great idea of how difficult it is to win the state of Georgia now for a Republican. Okay? And it's not just because of this. It's just look at Trump's performance in the areas in this district where he carves out through these counties. Look at them. All right, they called it, by the way. There it is. So there it is. Clayton Fuller has won. All right. Why? Because Walker's not even in yet. It's a Trump plus 59 county. Even if he underperforms there, it doesn't matter, right? Dade, Fuller's going to underperform there pretty badly. But it really just doesn't matter. There's just not enough votes. You had one chance in Cobb to really, 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 really run ahead. But now we're getting on 44%. There's only about 3,200 early votes outstanding. It's actually a little bit less than that. It's 3,297. And 100. No, I was right the first time. Okay. But in any event, whatever. I think it moved. But it'll just keep, tightening as time goes on. I think Harris might hold it. It's possible. It depends what that last chunk looks like. But it doesn't matter. Once we get those 3,000 votes in or so, it'll start to 3,197 votes in. It'll start to. Am I right about that? Yes. It'll start to tighten even more. So the question is never whether or not, Fuller was going to win. The question was by how much. It'll be an underperformance. I mean, it's an expected win for the Republican. It's a super, super red district. But we'll see how much. That's what matters. There's just, guys, you can't take 24-point swings all over the country. Let's hope, for Republicans' sake, Chattooga is not indicative of how the rest of this district goes. Because if that's true, you could basically take every battleground off the table. It's not going to happen. It's not. And people keep saying, well, they're just, Democrats vote in special elect. Right. Well, that's the entire point, though. And you're going to run into that problem in the midterms. So what you're really saying is that it's just a special election, is that, Republicans just don't care as much as Democrats. That's not a good enough excuse. Democrats used to do the same thing. They said when the tables were turned and Democrats had a lower propensity coalition, and Republicans tended to do better in midterms and specials and low turnout environments, Democrats tried to make the same BS argument too. And it was never true for them. It's not true here. You got to get your game out. You got to do it. This shift will change. We'll start to get swing should open up here pretty soon, but all right, we're looking at that margin there. That is not going to remain. Democratic margin will shrink. Again, I think the Republican is likely to take every county here. I just don't know if he's going to have enough to take Cobb, which Trump did. I don't think he will. Honestly, I don't. Unless something in Cobb is different than the rest. All right. All right, let's move on over. This will be the next race we're looking at. I think it'll go pretty quickly. I'll be honest with you guys. Although they take forever. And I'd like to eat, so we'll see. In the meantime, we'll just keep watching for this. Why is AIPAC trending? Why is the Strait of Hormuz trending? It's just so sad because it's like Americans are just effing done. They're done. They're done hearing about AIPAC. They didn't want to hear about this war. They're done. Excuse me. Tucker's guest on Christianity, the core of socialism. Listen. I'm going to break your brain right now, and I'm sorry to do it. What Tucker's guest said was true. I'm not saying Christians didn't stay socialist forever. But in the early church, because he specifically said, maybe we should model off of that, the church in Acts. The church was a collectivist institution in the beginning. It was. And I don't advocate for it to be. I think what really happened, I think his prescription is wrong. I understand what he's saying, that the structure of the modern church, especially in America, will corrupt you no matter what. And then it started as a socialist model, and now it's like becoming this, right? It's a capitalist model. That's true, but I would argue, and Owen, are you here? I think I did see you on Locals. We always argue about this on Book Club. Capitalism means something different today than when it did in the beginning of our country. Max Weber was right. We should have forced our kids to understand the spirit of capitalism by the time they were in kindergarten. And because we didn't, we lost the spirit of capitalism. And now it's turned into what Max would argue isn't capitalism. It's not special. That's just the pursuit of wealth for greed's sake. We've seen that since antiquity. That is not what capitalism is. And we've perverted it now. Might as well, if we could raise him from the dead, Max Weber would say, we might as well call it something else. Because it's not capitalism. Capitalism was invented by American Protestants, basically, in its current form when he was studying it. And you didn't pursue wealth for wealth's sake. You didn't pursue wealth for prosperity's sake. You practiced frugality, the calling, right? Mammonism meant something. And you did it because you were not expected to ignore your fellow man and just worry about the government or some government program. They'll take care of it. No, you were not to be a burden on society. You were to help others where you could. You were not to pursue, wealth for greed's sake. God wanted you to work. He has what the calling is. He wanted you to prosper, but he also wanted you to practice frugality. And we just have completely lost that now. So, the church is perverted. And what both Tucker and his guest said is like demonstrably true. I even said last night, like, just go seek out, go search for it in Gallup. They're like one of the most well-known and at one time anyway, respected, researchers. It's everywhere. I mean, there are so many studies. Hypocrisy, or at least the perception that we're hypocrites, the perception that we're judgmental, and because we pervert our faith with like these theological and political marriages that really don't have anything to do with our faith and clash with it quite a bit, we are having problems with the church. I mean, those people that they were talking about did massive damage to the church. They did. It just did. It's just a fact, man. All right. I'm so sensitive about this shit because dare you touch the Zionist, golden goose. Like, go for it. All right. Tucker Carlson didn't destroy the church. Jimmy Swaggart did when he started banging his members of his congregation. And Pastor Hagee got caught in the wrong missionary position. And they're all taking money from Likud to push their doomsday theology. If they really believe that bullshit, you think they would be sinning like that? If you were really that scared and Christ was coming back, would you be dipping your stick in every pretty little girl in a sundress? Disgusting, bro. It's bullshit. It's just bullshit. Get over it. I'm just we can't be afraid to talk about these things because I don't know, some people are going to pay a lot of money to come after you every time you bring it up. He didn't say it correctly, but the church in Acts was effectively a collectivist church. It was. That's true. I don't agree with it personally, but I know why they did it like that back then. It doesn't work now. It's like you can't even have a historical conversation without people being like, oh my God. Nobody cared about Fat Hagee porking his secretary. Didn't bother anybody. Or Jerry Falwell getting paid so much money from Likud, they had to gift him a plane so he could preach about bombing children. Rich, I can't imagine why you would say they view us as hypocrites. How are you going to argue a pro-life position right now when you're killing innocent people and civilians? How could you argue that you're pro-life when you just fucking murdered 200 schoolgirls in the first 48 hours of this war? You're a hypocrite. You are a hypocrite. Good luck arguing that. Sure. Okay. Fools. I can't imagine why we lost all these seats. You couldn't see we were making MAGA? We were making MAGA whoopee together. The delusions are old. This is going to hurt the church. This is going to hurt the agenda. This is going to hurt everything. You should have seen the long faces as I started to go through the list. Oh, no. See, it's not just the Congress. It's not just the House that you sacrificed. And now likely the Senate. It's not. It's the census. It's the courts. Church attendance. You effed everything. Be a man and take responsibility. Crying like a baby about something somebody said on Tucker's. Oh, you said I was a socialist. Your mother's a socialist. Worry about that. Your kid's a socialist. Worry about that. As who brought that up? Dread Robert just said before. Your countrymen are socialists. Worry about that. 42% in. Paulding will flip shortly. Floyd getting close. And we just haven't seen those other 3,000 out of Cobb. And I just don't know if they're going to make that. I don't think he's going to make that. Whitfield is not going to stay 14.5 for Harris. It's not going to happen. It's just so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Hold on. I'll check things over here where you guys can't see. This way it doesn't keep bothering you. All right. Let's see. Let's go home, though, and let's click on the other. We have some other Georgia races I do want to look at. All right. So, with more than half of the vote reported, Lanny Thomas has won Georgia State Senate 53. Unfortunately for him, he's currently running 21 points behind Donald Trump. Moving on to the next race. House 94. Vinola Maison. We don't even have any comparison there because it's just such a Democratic district. All right. Ooh. What do we got going on over here? Come on now. Do we have a bright light? We may have a bright light. Attention. The race is over. It's 95% in. And Georgia State House 130, of course, went to Sheila Nelson. She won it overwhelmingly. But with a whopping 1,287 votes counted, 95% in, Thomas McAdams performed 0.2% better. Hey, take the wins where you can get them. That's where we're at now. You guys know it's a small sample size, so it really doesn't even matter. No matter. This will not stay like this. Once we start to hit 50% in, which means we'll start to get to the end of the early vote in most of these counties, then you'll start to see Fuller's lead widen out. Again, right now, Chattooga is the only one where we have like a fully reported county, and that is currently showing roughly a 24-point underperformance. I mean, he's going to win it overwhelmingly, but let's call it what it is. It's 20. He's running 24 points behind Donald Trump. And yes, it does matter. Republicans have been running behind Donald Trump badly in the state of Georgia in every special election damn near. They got wiped out in a bunch of superintendent races. It's not good. Control over those offices matter. And there's a competitive, or should have been, competitive Senate seat this year in this state. One you should have wanted to stop John Ossoff, because that son of a bitch looks like he's going to be a presidential contender. And he is from the South. And as radical as I think he's going to be, or you think he's going to be, is not really relevant. The rest of the country will not think he's radical. In case you did not see some of his stump speeches talking about Trump and the Epstein class, that is a dangerous man. All right, Dade's now at 56. We got Fuller 28.8. That is a 40% underperformance compared to Donald Trump. I fully expect that will tighten. I just don't think he's going to get to Trump's margins. I don't. Right now, oof. That can't be possible. It is. Right, it is. Still roughly 30-point shift to Harris. Let's see if MTG said anything about the winner of her district. Maybe I'll send her a little message. They're running about 24 points behind. Currently. Only, yeah, but what did I say it was again, guys? It was Chattooga, right? Yeah. Oh, you got some big shoes to fill, bro. You got to fill the shoes of the traitor, the MAGA traitor, right? MAGA traitor who was at the courthouse with a red hat on. Bum, ba, bum. Division is just not good. Like, that's another thing I don't understand, the purification through subtraction crowd. Why can't they get this through their heads? Subtraction is not good. Division is not good. Politics is a game of addition. Who are you adding to replace the Hispanics you're chasing away? Who are you adding to replace the voters in Dearborn you chased away? Who are you adding to replace the voters who agree with MTG that you've chased away? Who are you adding to replace the voters who agree with Thomas Massey and Maha and libertarian wing of the party that you have chased away? Who are you adding? Politics is a game of addition. It's not a game of quit little replies on X. You're a traitor. Well, you turned out to be TDS. Great, children. Nice underperformance. Losers. Who are you adding? Because right now, I know some Democrats that are chuckling at these numbers. You know what they're going to do? They're going to take the overperformance as a W and on to Wisconsin where they're about to clap you. That'll be the narrative. But you can make another cute little post about MTG. The once former, what was that dude? He was like a life coach wannabe who then ran for Congress and got thrown off the ballot. Yeah, I kid you not. Tried to primary Debbie Lesko. Look it up. Arizona's 4th District. I got booted off his friend's podcast because I wouldn't back up their fake poll. Not kidding. I'm not kidding. It is not a joke. I am laughing, but it is not a joke. That really happened. Well, look, I respect, that you conducted your own poll, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to say that Debbie Lesko is probably going to beat you, bro. What? We're disconnecting now. Thanks for your opinion, Rich. Click. What? Yeah, that happened. Hey, while we wait for more results, I'd like to read you a column, if that's cool with you guys. Let's hang tight for this real quick. Whoops. Let's hang tight for this real quick. I'd like to read you guys a column. His column is usually pretty good. He's a smart guy when it comes to, catching the Brexit, Trump 1.0, Trump 1.5, when he lost, Trump 2.0. Relatively, he's a smart guy. And I find it funny because he's not even an American political analyst. And yet he seems to understand parts of the American electorate better than other American pundits. And despite the fact that I know he supports Donald Trump, and oh my God, shocker, he knows I support Donald Trump, we're not willing to compromise our political analysis based on who we support. And him and I have come up collaboratively with some really cool questions lately. And he's been asking things on his end. I've been asking things on my end. Anyway, I just think he's got good instincts. So I'd like to read his article today while we wait for more votes. American, white, working class, and anti-Trump. Whether or not he says he's won in Iran. The U.S. president is losing badly at home. So much so, many Republican strategists fear Democrats will sweep not just midterms, but 2028 presidential poll too. And it's Patrick Basham, obviously, right? He's in D.C., but I obviously Patrick is, you know what? I don't want to guess, but here, let's just read it. In January 2016, Trump famously boasted, quote, "I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters," unquote. For a decade, he was correct. Not only did voters not abandon him, but impeachments, indictments, a conviction, and a forcefully contested election outcome intensified his support. Until now. When the U.S. attacked Iran 5 weeks ago, Trump's hold slipped. The combination of a continuing affordability crisis, a lack of prosecutorial progress on the Epstein files, and a stalled domestic agenda had already loosened his voters' legendary loyalty. But the Iran war took their misgivings to a new level. Why are many Trump voters disenchanted with him over the war, with some feeling literally betrayed by him? Since entering national politics in 2015, a non-interventionist, America-first foreign policy was central to Trump's message and fundamental to his appeal. Trump repeatedly and explicitly stated his opposition to regime change, nation building, and endless wars, including Iran specifically. During his 2024 campaign, Trump frequently pledged no war with Iran. You know what? The neocons, time out. The neocons who keep bringing up how he said he wouldn't allow them to have a nuclear weapon consistently overlook this. Trump repeatedly stated that he would not go to war with Iran, including, by the way, mocking Barack Obama back, because I was found this tweet from Trump when he mocked Obama, setting a red line in Syria, and then like just hammering him over Iran about how because he's doing this, he's going to like red line us into these wars. It's unbelievable how much people like forget. Or not forget, they're misleading pieces of shit. But Americans will remember. Anyway, back to his call. In his victory speech, he said, "I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars." A credible promise, as he was the first president in the modern era not to start a war. Such promises helped Trump tremendously. Most Americans view the nation's 21st century interventions in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and elsewhere as costly failures. While Republican and Democratic parties, respective foreign policy establishments, both remain decidedly interventionist, the majority of voters remain decidedly non-interventionist, absent a direct threat to their homeland. That is so key. Republicans are not anti-war for the sake of being anti-war. It's because they have come to understand, and the truth is the middle is the same way. They have come to understand that this has all been bullshit. And even if you temporarily lie to them about the threat of Iran, 4 weeks later, they're going to realize you lied, and it will be a disaster. Younger, minority, working class, and politically independent Americans are especially non-interventionist. Listen, non-white voters couldn't give two shits about the Middle East, what's going on with the Middle East. They have their own war zones, guys. A good many of them, including first-time and occasional voters, cast ballots for Trump because of his first-term foreign policy record and explicit promises of more of the same. Like the majority of voters overall, many Trump voters do not think Iran posed an imminent threat to the U.S. Exactly. That's it. That was the sole, honestly, not sole. That was one of the central questions that we asked and shared with the administration. Like, this is where you will F up. They don't believe you. They don't believe you. But they are then this and that. Okay, whatever. Stop with the fantasy. They are not going to believe you. They're going to think you got dog walked into this. You did it for Israel. And you're going to look like a cock. Here we are. Back to it. Nor do they feel any safer now that Iran's nuclear program is allegedly bombed into impotence. I'm going to stop again and just say, as I shared with them today, in fact, it's worse. They feel less safe. Americans are actually getting quite scared. And multiple interactions today think like there were people who were nervous that Trump was going to drop a nuclear weapon on Iran. Like they are afraid. Launching war with Iran broke a central tenet of faith among this faction of Trump voters. He would never abandon a core foreign policy pledge simply to appease political elites in Washington, D.C. or a foreign government. It helps to differentiate among Trump voters. Self-described MAGA voters are largely in favor of the war. Trump's promises the number of voters who consider themselves MAGA has shrunk. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. Today, a narrow majority of Trump voters call themselves America First. This group is mostly opposed to the Iran war. Then there are MAHA voters. These Make America Healthy Again voters were drawn above all to Robert Kennedy Jr.'s alliance with Trump, but not simply on public health policy grounds. They endorsed Kennedy's and Trump's Ukraine war skepticism and antipathy to regime change wars. Our polling finds MAHA voters massively against the war. That's absolutely true. Trump's presidency has clearly become unpopular. His approval ratings reflect significant drops in support among independent-minded voters, young voters, new voters, and minority voters. Most worrisome for Trump is the loss of support among the white working class that anchored his political appeal through 3 elections. If the 2024 election was replayed today, Trump could not recreate the voter coalition that swept him to victory 2 years ago. No chance. No chance. He'd get crushed. Hold on, because this will really blow people's minds. He's losing a rematch to Biden, who America now knows is senile. Enough said. Should Trump send American troops to fight on Iranian territory, his approval ratings and his party's electoral prospects would sink even further. Our polling finds only 10% of voters support a ground invasion of Iran. We're at 9%. I mean, it's almost like that. And I know other pollsters that have polled this as well. It's like 9, 10%, 8, 10, whatever. I think one found 7. November's midterm congressional elections already looked dismal for Trump's party. Republicans were always carrying an inherent incumbency disadvantage, but an electorate that did not feel better off than under Trump's predecessor is now paying much higher gas prices too. It is probable Democrats will win control of both House of Representatives and the Senate. Many Republican strategists now consider a Democratic presidential victory likely in 2028. Whatever the war's policy merits or demerits, Trump made a poor political choice when he attacked Iran. In last week's primetime speech, again, he chose not to make the smart political choice. He chose not to stop the political bleeding by declaring victory, not to implicitly acknowledge the war's limitations, and not to end American involvement. If Trump's plans for a liberated and militarily defanged Iran actually came to pass, many Trump voters would nonetheless fear the electoral cost of a free Iran to be an America wholly governed by Democrats. That is a price they, at least, not willing to pay. That is so perfect. It's perfect. That's perfect. I mean, without burying everything in data and he put, the central stuff where it belonged. It didn't really need to be buried more in data than that. That's it. He just said it. And unfortunately, I don't know if I should put it up now. I just wish people would have listened to like Patrick, and others when it still mattered. So here you have Matt Walsh over here, and look at the people like this. There's still these sycophants like attacking Matt Walsh, where he put this out today earlier, and he's totally right. And he said, Americans are suffering. It is way too expensive just to live for most families. Our cities aren't safe. Our country is being transformed every day by foreign migration. Our elections aren't secure. The SAVE Act was not passed. It won't be passed. It's time to end this war in Iran and focus on our country, our people, our future. Far too much of Trump's second term has been spent on foreign adventures. It has to end. Turn the attention back home. Owen Troyer here, he replied 6 hours ago, probably a couple hours ago, but it's yes, and none of this has been happening since Trump got in. So we're far past the realization point, and we're to the why part of the equation. So why is this happening? He's getting Matt to admit what Matt probably doesn't want to admit, because Matt works for the Daily Wire and he doesn't want to get in trouble. I don't know Matt well. I don't know. So I don't want to speak for the guy, whether or not he has the, capacity to do that or what his intentions are. I don't want to speak to that. But what I said was a little bit more just from the realistic point of view. Like, Matt, I needed you and others to come around like last March, bro. I needed people who were in this game long enough to understand that there is a finite amount of time for you to do what you're now asking Trump to do. His political capital is gone. It's gone. It's squandered. It's gone. Gone. What do you expect him to do now? The fact is, you entertained for too long this fantasy because you didn't want to admit what Owen Below is trying to get you to admit, which is that this administration has been completely consumed by the war lobby, and that's why the domestic agenda got derailed. And I just wish there were more people when it mattered, not when it's easy. It's easy now. The war's a disaster. His approval rating's in the shitter. They're getting crushed in the generic ballot by margins. I mean, again, you take the Morning Consult out there. All of a sudden, Morning Consult's the best poll to like put up against us. It's like people are just conning themselves. Look at this, a 24-point underperformance so far in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. They're about to get the shit kicked out of them in Wisconsin. We're waiting for that. Like, I needed you not when it was safe, bro. Like, not when it was easy. I needed you to have a pair of balls and stand up when it was still fixable. Before his capital was squandered. Before he was painted as an Israel shill. Before three-time Trump voters were describing how he's giving Netanyahu fellatio on a daily basis during polling interviews. That's what I needed. I wish there were more backbones in this country. Unfortunately, I do know one who would have had the backbone to do it, but he's dead now. Looks like we didn't live up to his expectations. It's a little effing late. Now I can mitigate the damage, and I'm all for it. Let's mitigate the damage. But if you think there's going to be some pivot back to the domestic and a robust domestic policy, you're fucking lying to people, bro. Just stop lying to people. Republicans are already the party of cowards. As I tried to tell you all in March, April, May, they're never coming back from the new year and doing that. Very few Congresses do. Definitely not these cowards. So I need you all to tell Netanyahu now to go pound salt. Tell Netanyahu to come back in year 3. Because guess what? If Trump would have done that, I don't even think Owen Schroyer would have cared if we bombed Iran in year 3. I don't want to speak for Owen Schroyer, but you know what I'm saying. Most people would not have cared at all. He would have been able to do whatever he wanted to do. You can't ignore the will of the voters like this and not expect a terrible consequence to be exacted on you. You will feel their retribution now. They're going to show you what real retribution looks like. And that's unfortunate. That is not how this story was supposed to end. But, again, having sycophants and shills when it comes to a president like this, a leader like this, it's the worst thing. It's never good for any leader to have yes men. And by the way, I just want to jump on this real quick. I've seen reports. I know she's leaking it. And I don't even blame her at this point. I will tell you, and you guys know I have not been a defender of Susie Wiles. But I'm telling you, that woman said, cut the shit with the rosy pictures. You know that's bullshit. Don't hold back. Stop being yes men. So for all her flaws and the critics, and I know how they love to beat on her, that is unfair. She invited a lot of people to tell him the real deal. And unfortunately, again, as has been the case on social media and everywhere else, they didn't have the balls. They get in front of him and they fucking fold like an omelet. He wants to be told how great he is, and they give it to him. And they make the one or maybe two ballsy people with integrity look like idiots, doomers. They just let them flail so they can get invited to the next tea time. She told all of you, don't hold back. You fucking held back because you wanted to praise him, because you wanted to give him, you wanted to remain on his good list. You didn't want to get disinvited from the White House Christmas party, right? Right. And that includes some of my you-know-who brothers and sisters. Can't lose your access, right? Choice, you think he's going to pull your access? You're the biggest organization on the right. It's cowardly, man. It's cowardly. Now look at you. Now look at all of us. And again, dude deserved better. He never pulled his punches. He did it respectfully, but he never pulled his punches. He never hid the truth from him. He considered him a friend. So he did what any real friend would do, which is be honest. Be truthful with your friend about the state of things. We suffer from cowardice in this country. It's on the right. It's on the left. It's everywhere. It's in Congress, everywhere. It's in the Supreme Court. It's in the White House. We badly suffer from cowardice. And because of it, it almost doesn't matter what we're talking about. We always fail to rise to the occasion. And the good ones somehow get taken out of the picture. Never fails. Never fails. It's so unfortunate. It really is. Unfortunate. All right. Let's go, Wisconsin. You got what? 16 minutes? 18 minutes? And I don't mean to pick on Matt there. You know, it's just a fucking guy was silent as shit. It's fucking 4 million followers. 4 million followers. Mum was the word, dude. Not a peep. You need any more expressions? Nothing. So I understand where Owen's frustration is coming from. At this point, bro, we're beyond that. Thank you for finally catching up. Do us all a favor and at least have the courage to say why, who, what. Acting like it's some kind of profound discovery out of nowhere. Article in the New York Times right now. How Trump took the U.S. to war with Iran. Jonathan Swan, Maggie Haberman, not huge fans of either one of them. By the way, Jonathan, you owe me a correction from the 2022 midterms. I didn't poll Michigan, homie. Right in their book. But I know a lot of what Swan and Haberman write. I am aware of it. And I know a lot about these events, and I know it's true. I know a lot of it is true. Some of it I don't know, but you know, I have no reason to doubt them since so many of the things that I do know are true. Like, for instance, how Netanyahu and Mossad sold Trump a load of horse shit. And then when skeptical voices, including the vice president and others, Jack Posobiec, polling that was submitted through correct channels, et cetera, because there's no doubt the anti-war voices were the Gabbards, and they were the minority voice. But when they were winning the argument and you could see skepticisms come through, they pushed for this other meeting, and it just so happens to be when J.D. Vance is in Azerbaijan and could not possibly get back in time to attend the meeting. And they wind up selling him a whole new round of bullshit to ease his mind. He believes a bunch of lies. Once it becomes clear those are lies, it's too late because at that point, Israel's just dog walking him at this point anyway. Well, you know what? If you're going to back out now, we're just going to do it. So they did that. The greatest ally waits for the vice president to not be there. The greatest ally. What a load of shit, dude. What a load of shit. And then ever since he's been trying to get this thing under control, every time there's progress, somebody's leaking to them who he's talking to, even though there are explicit efforts to keep them from knowing. Someone's leaking to the Israeli government who they're talking to try to get some kind of a deal, and the Israelis kill them. Been going on for weeks. Weeks. I don't care what country it is. I don't care what their name is. That is not the behavior of an ally. Sorry, it's not. And if, again, there was no, you have to believe in order to not understand like how this ended up this way, you have to believe the imminent threat story, which is bullshit. It's a lie. But you have to believe it because otherwise you're forced to ask yourself, why couldn't they just give, the American public have been so generous with them. Why couldn't they just give them their first year and second year, if necessary, with Trump to deal with their problems, their lives, their needs? Jesus, Bibi, they've been building a bomb for 35 years. You could have waited another 16 months. They wanted what they wanted. They know that the president has finite political capital, and they fucking took it from you. They decided that they were more important than you. That they were going to prioritize their needs over yours. Understand that. They knew full well a war will suck all of the oxygen out of the room. Americans need this. Americans need that. We don't care. We have come to cash in on all those campaign contributions now, and we've come to get ours. They're only 30% of 2.5%, but hell, they come first. Unreal. And Trump. Would you get the other 48%, bro? Unbelievable. Chris Fuller, we got more coming in. We're at 67%, and Fuller is now up to a not quite 11-point lead. So I don't know where this 32.7 shift is for Harris. Is that projected? This has to be projected. This can't be right. This hasn't moved. Let's look. Okay. Polk is fully in, and he performed about 22 points behind Trump. He performed in Chattooga about 24 points behind Trump. I don't know where they're getting this 32.7 shift. I mean, that's not right. I mean, it's just not. It is about 26 points, though. It is. It's about 20. Let's call it 25. Let's split the baby. Let's call it 25. So based on, let's say, Walker too, because now we're at 77. But, let's just use Polk and Chattooga because they're both 95% in. Based on those two counties, he's not flipping Cobb. He's not. Not happening. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if it basically stays at like Harris plus 14. All right. I hope it doesn't. I hope there's a sudden surge of election day votes that change that dramatically, because if they don't, Democrats are going to be all over Harry Enton tomorrow, touting how much better they did in the suburbs. Look at how much they did in the burbs. Here we go again with the suburban woman. Here we go again. It's like playing 18. Loop, 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 loop. Again, we're back. I just hopped in a time machine. I went back in time. Yay. We get to listen to incessant conversations from Harry Enton and Nate Cohen and the rest of them about how the Republican coalition's falling apart and suffering badly in the burbs, and turnout among working class that Patrick Basham was just talking about in his column is significantly lower than where it needs to be. Great. Fantastic. You can tell I'm a little jaded, guys. Can you tell I'm a little jaded? It never gets easier. It's like at this point, 10 years later, you think once the People's Pundit pops the flare in the air, everyone should just know better. Like, they should know by now to just shut up and listen. Uh-oh. Rich popped the flare in the air. Everybody shut the up and listen. Ooh, little scripture. Let's get a little scripture here, Owen. For even when we were with you, we commanded you this. If anyone will not work, neither shall he eat. For we hear that there are some who walk among you in disorderly manner, not working at all, but are busybodies. Now those who are such we command and exhort through our Lord Jesus Christ, that they work in quietness and eat their own bread. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10 through 12. New King James Version. That's obviously in reference to the conversation over, collectivism versus, right? I mean, right. I think like people like, misunderstand what they meant by like communal, like you had to still work. And like, that's why, Owen, I personally favor the Protestant ethic worldview, which has been abandoned though. It has been corrupted. Like, you have to admit that guy is right. It has been corrupted. That is not what it was supposed to be. For you yourselves know how you ought to follow us, for we were not disorderly among you. 2 Thessalonians 3, chapter 3, verse 7. Dread Robert, Trump reversed on Syria before Iran, the guy who understood the need to get out in his first term, buddy up to terrorist-free regime change in his second, terrorist-free regime change in his second. They flipped him early, and he has stayed on their marching orders for a long run. I hate to say it, but clearly, I mean, I think that's pretty clear. I think if you go back, and I know some of this stuff that like I don't really want to repeat publicly, but I think if you go back and you look at some of the fighting with Elon Musk, I think you'll realize that Elon, he knew, and he got mad because it was more than just, you didn't give me my NASA director. Like, that's bullshit, obviously. Guy spent a fortune on getting his campaign done, and they knew that the domestic stuff that he wanted was going to get derailed. And if you go back and look at some of his tweets, he's very publicly alluding to the fact that Trump is cooked. He's been starts with that tweet. He's in the Epstein files. We all have to just suck it up and admit it. They got him. Well, who was they? And I'm not even saying it was the Epstein files. I have my own theories. I think a big part of what Joe said is also true, because I know the dude's mindset. Like, I know what he, when he wants, look, people like tend to behave the way that they want to be behaved by, right? It's almost like the reverse of the golden rule. Like when Trump is trying to like make nice with you and he wants something from you, he flatters the shit out of you, man, and it's like, that's like, they did that. I mean, read the New York Times article too, guys. I don't know if you have that. You have to have a subscription to the New York Times to read it, I think. But I could read it for you while we're waiting for these votes to come in. But you know what? We could. I mean, but you'll see what they did. They just did a very good job. They presented him, Netanyahu and the head of Mossad, and they got in there with friends, just friends. Pete Hegseth, John Ratcliffe, and they closed the door on Tulsi Gabbard. They brought in Jared Kushner, who, by the way, the president told a lot of people would have nothing to do with his second term because of the problems that people perceive Jared Kushner caused in his first term. But that's all out the window too. Steve Witkoff, that he was there as a special envoy, but they like locked the door on everybody else. No Joe, no Gabbard. Vance is out of the country. Let's do this now. And they again came with these rosy projections, and anyone who fired back at them, their answer was like the right answer for Trump. Maybe other presidents, but not this one. God is on his side. God wills it. I kid you not, guys. I wish I was joking. I am making fun of it, but I'm really not. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. Come on, Wisconsin. I really want to see the margins in Douglas, Bayfield, and Ashland right now. Come on. Would you guys want to take the over-under? You think it'll be 27% to 33%? Think that's a fair range? We can't get in those Trump mid-40 margins. I know that ain't happening. What do you think? I mean, Mitt Romney's 27 to 32. They're right. I hope you're right. We got somebody who expects this might be closer than they think. Man, I hope you're right. I hope you are. I would love for you to be right. I would. Sadly, I just don't see that, but I would love for it. Should I click on it? There's nothing there yet. So there's nothing to look at yet. So we're still looking at Georgia. I'm curious about these here. They're just taking their time and trickling stuff in. Yeah, there really has been no movement. Should I refresh it? Let me refresh it and make sure. Yeah, there's been no movement. Dun, 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 dun. Sean Harris coming in with 44.6. Coming in hot. Coming in hot. All right, come on now. All right, since we do have some new people watching, while we wait for more votes to come in, let's go ahead and go over a little bit of basics about Kentucky again. Age signal and geography, that is where it's at. Yes, there is some bit of a gender thing going on, but it's not the significant part of the findings. Massey does better with women, and Gallerin, whatever, does better with men. Massey leads with every age group under 65. Ed leads. I think he's going to lead. Yes, he is. He leads with 65 plus. Now, here's why that matters. The elasticity of various age groups when we're looking at turnout projections matters. They're significantly different. The 45 to 64 group is going to be the swing group. Massey currently leads with them. Depending on whether it's higher turnout, you would think in conventional wisdom it would help the incumbent. In this case, it's not really true because of the, as Cynic said, Trump's henchman candidate, which is Ed Gallerin, the never Trumper turned all of a sudden Trump's henchman. He is getting support from men who are 65 plus and identify as MAGA, like the very MAGA boomer, the Fox boomer con. Okay. The problem with that is that there is no elasticity with that group. It doesn't matter when we change these turnout models. They're already high propensity voters to begin with. So they're going to vote, and they're going to vote at the same rate no matter what the modeling is. The only change will deal with groups that Massey is already winning with. So 18 to 29, for instance, is a great example. Very high elasticity group because they typically don't vote in primaries. They appear to be voting at higher rates than usual or will. And they are so much more of the new registrations. All right. So younger voters who Massey does better with are overwhelmingly the ones who make up new voters and new registrants in the district. And it's more than just an age thing. Oh, well, they're growing in, voting agehood. That's not, it's more than that. And again, let's say Massey winds up losing his advantage and it's basically tied. The challenger fights Massey to a draw with 45 to 64. Then the difference between those age groups and their turnout that'll be everything. All right. I mean, Massey will need to basically draw some of these up, and we'll go through this tomorrow. We'll actually talk about a couple of percentages, but normally you're talking about baseline turnout, 45,000, 50,000 votes, let's say that was true. And that already ends up, almost all the new voters would come from voters under the age of 45 if turnout ended up being higher. All right. It would end up being younger, more mobile people. They're a higher percentage of the 30 to 44 group. Guess what? Are new families. So when we look and see, because we did ask parental status, again, that will be a group that Massey does better with. Here is the issue. That typically, like the millennial group, is the more like libertarian-like group. So the 18 to 29-year-olds, if they fit the mold nationally, like right-leaning young voters, they are more nationalistic than libertarian. And that is different than prior generations when younger voters would be more like the Ron Paul voters, right? Or the Pat Buchanan voters too, right? I guess to some degree. But that would help Ed typically, but it's just not the case in Kentucky. And there's a couple of reasons that's happening and it's benefiting Massey. One is national attention draws more money to the race, more money being spent, increases interest, national focus, of course. And it can it can backfire on somebody like Trump, who's trying to get his candidate just have a typical primary electorate with the 65 boomer cons that are going to listen to whatever Trump says. It's backfiring and it's it's going to cause at this rate higher turnout among voters that will vote for Massey. And the Epstein issue. Trump is underwater with Republican voters on the Epstein issue, and they care about it in this district because their incumbent happens to be the incumbent who forced the release of them, fighting Donald Trump on it. So it's a problem for Trump. That's a problem for him. It's a problem for his candidate. Massey has like a lot of goodwill with these voters because they know, like, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have gotten this stuff. And then it looks slimy, guys. It looks slimy. Trump's negatives in this district are a lot higher than I expected them to be. Like it has been a problem. And then I think it's being exacerbated by the war, which is unpopular. So there you have it. So we'll see. There's no doubt Massey's numbers have taken a hit since they spent $20 million against this guy and put another $5 million into the super PAC. All Miriam Adelson's money, by the way. They have taken a hit. But it does seem like his lead has stabilized. And the question is, can they break through the groups that they need to break through with? They will have to do better. They're not going to do better with under 45. I just don't see it. But 45 to 64, maybe. And they have to do better with those groups if they want to beat Massey. And that's kind of why we took so long to poll, because we've been like dipping our toe in and out of this district for damn near a month now. And I just wanted to know if there was any trend at all to show or suggest that was happening. And it just hasn't. Like, even when there's been like a day where I'm like, okay, maybe is this, nope, it's just noise. And the next day Massey's doing better again. So it's stabilized over the period of like what now? It's been like 5 days. It has stabilized, and we'll see. I just don't know if you can break through it. I think it's pretty much great job. You wasted $25 million like that. And maybe not. Maybe over the next month, they figure out a way to break through it. But I'm telling you, it's just a waste of money. It's just a waste of money. $30 million that, boy, Michael Whatley could have used real bad in North Carolina, huh? I don't really want a state Supreme Court that's left-leaning. Don't want it. Not dying for Roy Cooper to be a senator. Thank you. It's going to happen, though, at this rate. Let's not forget, Lindsay needs 35 too. He suddenly cares a lot about Paul Dans, don't he? I thought he was ahead. Big lead. Nothing like it before. Never seen anything like Lindsay's lead before. What the hell happened to that? We got to do daily press conferences now? Here you have two pastors. This is exactly what I'm talking about, the church. Here you have two pastors come after Paul Dans because, oh my God, he's got someone on his staff who criticizes Israel, while they stand next to an openly gay man who's a mass murderer. I can't imagine why they think you're judgmental hypocrites. Oh my God. Oh, the Republican Party is back in the Bush era. Let's just be honest. It's true. That's where they're at. They're back in the Bushy era. All right. So we're now at a 26 point. Okay. We got some more votes in here. Katusa's in 95. Okay. That's about a 27 point underperformance, right? Yep. 26 overall now district wide. Let's see what else comes in. Cobb will tell a big story. The one area where he's not on pace to be down that much, I don't think he will be, is Murray, but we'll see. Are you telling me you're not going to flip Paulding here or Whitfield? Oh, he's got to get Whitfield. Come on. All right, how we doing over in Wisconsin? 906. Come on, Wisconsin. Let's go. Dun, 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 dun. Let's go. Boy, Clayton Fuller looks like, I don't know, like a Georgia Ken doll or something. Who needs to eat a cheeseburger? Come on, Clayton. Eat a cheeseburger. Oh, maybe that's an older picture of you. Let's see, bro. You got some big shoes to fill, bro. You better be based, bro. Better be based. All right. We do have polls are closed now, right? Am I wrong here? Hold on, man. Polls in Wisconsin are closed. Right? I think so. I believe they close at 9 Eastern time. When do polls close in Wisconsin, bro? Yeah. Yeah. 7 to 8, which is an hour behind, correct? Oh shit! Tell me, give me a break. What? Oh, come on. If I brain farted, am I brain farting here, locals? Is Wisconsin not mountain time? Yes, it is. Stop it. Can Trump tell a friend from an enemy? I don't think so anymore, Dredd. I don't think so. It's not clear in his endorsements, foreign policy, staffing. Nah, I don't think so, bro. I don't think he can anymore. He's always been a transactional guy, and I just think he's back to not understanding that, the fact of the matter is this isn't the business world. This is politics. He doesn't understand that all these people are going to turn into his enemies once they're done using him in the primaries. They have no loyalty to him. He's not running again. That'll be a wrap, dude. That'll be a wrap. I think he'll be relatively surprised when he finds out how many people are willing to vote to impeach him. All right, look at those. Ballot returns from February 6th to April 6th. And then you can see that in-person early vote pickup in Georgia with Republicans. Told you. In-person early voting, it'll tell us. It will tell us if there is no in-person early vote surge in the days leading up. You just can't expect anymore for there to be some monster turnout on election day. You just can't expect it anymore. Given how not well, but like how decent they did in person early, I'm a little bit surprised he's not doing better here. And I don't think he will. I think that'll be just about it. Okay. I think he's going to end up around a 20-point underperformance, something like that. Maybe even where he stands now, frankly. It's all going to come down to, oh no, Fun Hablo. It's all going to come down to where Cobb comes in. Thank God that didn't land on her. Did it? Did it? Oh, no, Laura. Oh, no. Well, that's what you get. I just spilled my drink in her Adidas. Let me get, hold on. I'm going to have to get some paper towels in a second. Give me 1 second. All right. Well, what they know so far, the details in the last 2 week delay of the war. They're not too happy with the details, but they say it's president's decision to make. What? Okay. I want to see what video Andrew's talking about here. Give me 1 second. You know what? Let's watch it together. I'm curious what this means. But while we wait, let me just peek again. Okay, we are getting Wisconsin. Hold on. Let me throw this up. All right, cool. Cool. We'll look at that video if we have a chance in a second. Let's wait for Wisconsin to roll in while I go get some paper towels. Hang on. You gotta stay out here. No, you gotta stay out here, little buddy. Daddy's got a mess to clean up. You gotta stay out there while I clean it up, okay? No. Out. Daddy's gotta clean it up. I don't want you to walk through it. Okay, go. Good boy. Stay there. Oh, boy. Well, you know what? I'd say I'd feel bad, but the truth is, I constantly say, put your stuff away. Don't leave your stuff, especially not here. You stealing my ice? Are you stealing my ice, dude? Ooh, that's on electronics. Is that yummy? Are you enjoying that? Are you enjoying that? Oh, put them here. No, buddy, that's about it. And there's no more, dude. Here, you want one more? Here. Go get it. All right, how we doing? That's it? So far, that's it? Oh, lordy. All right. Right now, we just really outside of Green Bay. Lord. And there's Kenosha. I mean, that is... There we go. There's some more Kenosha as it comes in. Ooh! That was fun while it lasted, wasn't it? Jefferson. Yo, who was predicting this was going to be closer again? I mean, in truth, this is kind of funny. Okay, let me just margin. Okay, remaining. And there's not going to be a swing thing. Okay, there's some from Jefferson. I was just going to say that made no sense. I was wondering if that was an API issue, honestly. I spent like nothing here. Like they just were out to lunch. Poor Scott Pressler's like the only one who understands the importance of winning these races, these court races. They're so critical. Okay, that's Wood. Oof, that's not good. Wood is a one of those critical counties in 16. Just gave everybody a little bit of a tip as to what was going on. Of course, I'm looking And I'm seeing Brown. That is early vote. You got to be kidding me. That's kind of crazy, though, huh? Look, it looks like Maria Lazar just won that early vote chunk. I mean, we don't know where it came from, what precinct it came from. I don't really feel like drilling down into the tables right now. But I am still a little bit surprised that she did win it like that. Even Trump himself, when he did well in Brown, well, not in 2024. That's true. Yeah, that's right. Not in 24. But we're now up to, now it's still 4%, 6%. Here comes Madison. This friggin' county, bro. This friggin' county. Kenosha's just a bad sign off. I mean, it's not that much, but 15.6%. You know. Kenosha's like the quintessential swing county. Believe Trump won it by like 3.5 in 2020. I believe it was 3.5, something like that. Wasn't enough. He won it by a little over 4, I believe, in 2016. 2024 was close, guys. I mean, that was close. That state was close. All right. Oh, I can actually go to... I can do it in front of you. You know what? You guys mind while we wait for votes to come in? They'll come in little by little. That's La Crosse. Vernon. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. We'll go back to it in a hot second, okay? I want to do it here. There we go. And I just want to look at Kenosha. Yeah, he won it by 6.2. And yet still, he won it by about a point. It was close. All right, let's go back. Waukesha Mayor, we have some for the Waukesha Mayor. Yeah, we sure do. Barely anything, but we got it. That race interests me. It does, because again, WOW is really important. Very, very important. It's not like there aren't other important parts of the state, but if you can't perform in WOW as a Republican, you're not going to win. I'm curious to see what they do at the local level. I'm also very curious. I'm waiting to see what happens up here. In lumberjack country, what we have always playfully referred to as lumberjack country. Oh, look at that. A split. 14 votes in Forest. 7 each. I mean, there's nothing yet in Milwaukee. Dane is going to be ugly. We know that. Just out of curiosity, let me see something. Move. Iron will flip back, or at least it should. We have seen a couple of statewide races where actually it did not. I should have starred presidents so we could have showed you. For some reason, they don't have a shift here, and they don't have a shift map. And I should have starred the 24 Wisconsin presidential race so we could have gone back and forth easily. I could still do it, but let's just wait to see if we can get some more results to pour in. Wisconsin's usually not too bad. In 2016, it actually reported faster than the other big three, than the other two in the big three. For people who don't remember, in 2016, Wisconsin was called first, actually. The big two areas were obviously big vote getters for Hillary Clinton in Milwaukee and in Dane had basically reported on basically everything they had. And it was a close race. I think Trump was up by like 0.4 of a point, but they had chunked in. They were done. That was it. And there was still more red vote out than blue. So Fox called it, which was a stunner to everybody, even though we did. I was looking at Pennsylvania. I honestly wasn't paying attention. We had a guy on each state, and I was Pennsylvania, and I remember it was Chris who was Milwaukee, who was in Wisconsin, and he was telling me like this is crazy. I think Trump's going to win the state. And we just kind of started talking about something else in Pennsylvania, and then we could like hear, I think it was Megyn Kelly. We could hear it in the background. It's like, holy shit, you're right. Let me go look at that again. And I was like, oh my God, it's over. That's when I realized too, it was really going to be right. That was the moment. I'm like, holy shit, I was right. They make you think you're crazy. You know, they really do. When the media does what they do like that, they make you think you're in a totally different world. Like, you know what you're seeing in the polling, and you're just like, how are they saying this? How are they like, this guy's going to win this election? But they make you think you're nuts, and they make you think, you know, that's why that all of that talk about the neighbor question and all of this and all that, we just didn't need that. You know, in our polling, he was winning. That's it. I mean, he was going to win the election, and they really make you think you're nuts. This is bad. So even as early vote, that's a 20-point gap in early vote in Sauk. This is what, okay. We'll wait to see what more of this vote looks like when it comes in. But if you're the Republican, you would have liked to see a somewhat tighter margin. Sauk is very close. But you have some of these areas like Juneau, of course, used to be the pivotal county in Wisconsin. It was the bellwether county. Sauk is always like very, very, very close. And regardless, it shows how there are, like, what did Trump win it by? 1.7 over Harris. He won it by about 620 votes, 626 votes. There is a Obama working class. We supported Barack Obama not once, but twice. Working class constituency, ancestral Democratic. There are, again, what's so fascinating about Wisconsin is not just, it's because you think, oh, it's a white state. And actually, there's quite a few Asian demographics in Wisconsin as well, but it's more rural than Michigan, for instance. But there are these Norwegian or Scandinavian ethnicities overall. Norwegian's one of them. Up north, you have more that resemble Minnesota. You have a small Finnish population. And then, you know, that's what I always found to be, you know, a little bit more fascinating. They resisted, like, as much as Republicans were winning the white vote. The reason they couldn't win some of those, like these other states until Trump came along, is because the white vote that they were squeezing these margins out of was a very regional white vote. And in order to break into bigger margins and where you needed them to be, you had to win. Norwegian Catholics were among the easiest, but then you have Norwegian Protestants, right? German Catholics in Pennsylvania are huge. These remained ancestral Democratic groups for a long time, even as, like, you know, we'd call them Reagan Democrats or something like that in certain areas, especially in like Macomb County, Michigan or something. There would be a white working class constituency that wasn't voting Republican until like a Reagan or something, and then went back and voted Democrat again after Reagan for the most part, when they gave Herbert Walker Bush one chance. Wisconsin, though, is a perfect example. Wisconsin voted for the caucus, right? And there's a reason for that. I mean, those Scandinavian subgroups are very resistant to Republican politics because they don't like war. They don't like big corporation crap. They certainly don't like how can I put it? The big con wing of the party. Where, like, you're supposed to be conservative about everything in your bedroom and everything else, but basically you're a hypocrite on everything else. And it's the word of the day, isn't it? Hypocrite? It really is. But, oof, out of gaming. Oof, Winnebago. Yeah, so, by the way, both of those counties Trump carried. Outagamie was 10 points for Trump. Winnebago, whatever. Winnebago, I call it. Was 5. That's early vote, so we'll see. But in cases of, like, huge blowouts, honestly, Democrats can win those. Now, that's Door County, an interesting county. Trump was able to win it in 16. He lost it in 20, and he lost it in 2024. Very close, but it has trended Democratic. Harris carried it by about 2.2 points. 2.2, which was a little under 500 votes. Joe Biden and Trump split it. It was very close. And then I think Trump won it by like something crazy, 14 votes or something over Hillary Clinton. I'd have to go back and look. And I can. But that's a good example, by the way. That's a really good example. Is it too far back? They don't have... I guess they don't have that far back yet in here on the graphics. That's a tragedy. Okay. All right, some more coming in here. A little click. Iron is the last red county before we get to like Ashland and Bayfield and Douglas up north. And Trump won Iron. He does win Iron. Some Republicans don't do as well as Trump. Trump won it by nearly 30 points. He won it by 63 to 36, 62.7 to 36.5. Close. And then we'll just, I mean, that's 7%. It's an early vote. I imagine it will flip, but we'll see what the margin is. Again, I'm more interested in the neighbors to the west because of those voting, because of those constituencies I was just telling you about. Polk is a 30-point Trump county, which is reported to the west right there, right here. That's nothing. So a lot of this is just a little bit of early vote, trickle. You just got to wait. You can see the Democratic margins built up now. She's ahead by almost 11 points. You got about a quarter of the vote in Dane. I could have sworn Milwaukee had reported something. Did they just really? Yeah, you never know. You can make this up. This deficit in Kenosha, let me just look and see how much of the early vote in Kenosha is in. You can make that up. One more. There you are. Oof, there's a lot of early vote remaining. Yeah, not great. There's a lot of early vote remaining there. Okay. All right, it's called. They called it. Give me a second and I'll look and see why. Okay. Jackson, Cross, that's blue. Expect that. Well, lacrosse is. Vernon, 20% in. It's a big margin. Okay. Sauk wasn't there yet to do that. I don't know why they did that, but we'll see. It's probably because you just see, like, I just was like lamenting, by the way, that with 31% of the vote in Kenosha and with that much still outstanding in early vote, it probably was not retrievable. And then that's 75 to 24 margin in Milwaukee with 46% in. Yeah, it's pretty ugly. By the way, Harris only got 68% of the vote in Milwaukee. Trump was able to keep her all the way down to 68%. Milwaukee is not going to be as high as a margin as Dane County will be, which is usually around 75%. And you can see that Taylor was tracking at around 81% with 46.6% of the vote in. Halfway in Milwaukee. Could she have dragged it down to 68? Probably not. So, yeah, I mean, do I think this is like too early of a call? No. I mean, look at Outagamie. She's trailing in there. Again, Trump won both those counties. Winnebago, 51.7 to 46.9. Outagamie, 54.4 to 44.2. So, I mean, she was just running way behind Trump. I'm still interested. I'm not going to end the stream just yet. I just want to, from my own sake, I want to see lumberjack country here. Even though I know I got to get up kind of early here, I want to see lumberjack country. I want to see what the margins are looking like. Even though Sauk is very discouraging. Why? Well, that tells me that do you remember when we were talking about former MAGA and who is calling themselves former MAGA? Well, that's why. Those groups, when you look at white detail, white ancestry, you'll see it. If the national average is 16, they're like 35. As far as the percentage of people who say, yes, I did consider myself America First and MAGA, and I no longer do. If the national average is 16, you're going to see like Finnish groups probably in the 40%. Hold on one second. And there's my boy Poso live on a stream. What's going on, brother? You are. I don't have you on speaker, but you are live on the stream. They can't, no, but they hear me talking to you. I said, hold on, Poso's calling. All right, hold on, guys. Let's say hi to the stream. Everybody say what's up to Poso. What's going on, Jack?
What's up, guys? The deal maker in chief comes through at the last minute. He comes through.
I have been doing an election thing. Let's look at this right now. How did I not? Oh my God, there's a ceasefire. When did this happen, Jack? I've been on the stream for like 2 hours.
Wait, am I breaking the news?
You are breaking the news right now because we have been focused on elections. I kid you not. You're breaking it right now. Ceasefire. Tell us what it's about, Poso. What's the terms of this thing?
That's kind of the question. As usual, there's a big push right now to sort of frame and shape this thing to say who got the better end of it, et cetera, all that. And so far, it is only a 2-week ceasefire that we're told is being hammered out, so agreed to. So it's not a full full ceasefire, but we have heard, and this is something that I've been reporting for a while. CNN's hitting it now, that the vice president is expected in Islamabad, Pakistan. Now we know he's in Hungary right now, but he's expected to be continuing on down if everything continues to go in this direction, to go down and participate in direct negotiations in Pakistan.
Oh my God, I love this guy. I don't know what else to say. I mean, praise God.
And there's some other pieces coming out. CNN put up this report saying that Trump had agreed to various items, but then Trump came out and said that's not what I agreed to. That's a fake report. So there's been a number of things running around, and I would say the information environment is a target-rich environment right now. But
okay.
So I'm really only trusting stuff that I see coming from officially the president or officially the Iranians right now, because a lot of people are saying things that just aren't true. But I think a lot of this will shake out as it goes, and I think there's still some attacks going on. Israel and Iran, pounding each other back and forth. I think some of those strikes were probably ongoing. But what we're going to see is, I think, within the next couple hours, things are going to quiet down significantly.
Okay, and that's that was going to be my next question. I mean, what do you think? This is like, we don't really know, right? Like this is between us and Iran, right? Or are they framing this as like a U.S. and Israel thing?
They're framing this as a grand deal, that this is not just the U.S. and Iran. It's the U.S., our regional partners, Israel. That the whole thing goes to a ceasefire, not just two. It's not a bilateral thing when Israel gets to keep going. No, it's the whole thing.
Okay, that's better. Obviously, I mean that's good to hear. Oh man, the vice president comes to a clutch.
There's all those caveats and couch statements that you have to put in place when it comes to any ceasefire agreement. Is everyone going to agree to it? Is everyone going to agree to it? Is every unit of the IRGC going to agree to it, et cetera, et cetera? There's the Houthis, so many other different ways to look at it. But I think one of the big pieces here, we've been talking about human events, and I said it earlier today. I was on the Sean Spicer show, that anytime you see Pakistan's name being put out there, you might as well just erase that and put China in its place.
That's true, man.
That's who we're negotiating with here. This is the Chinese coming in, and the AP is now reporting that as well. But it's China is putting this up through the Pakistanis, that they're coming in and saying, okay, we got to figure this thing out. Because at the end of the day, China does not want the instability. I don't think China has any love for the Iranian regime. What they have love for is Iran's oil.
Yeah, and liquefied natural gas.
Yeah, they want to keep that going, the oil and the natural gas. And meanwhile, who does China also have leverage over? Oh, that's right, the United States, economically, through the purchase of our debt, the purchase of those T-bills. So when the money gets involved, that's when I think the guns can go. They've got the leverage with both sides and the credibility with both sides to be able to get this to where it is now. And what did we see as well? President Trump had said he was supposed to be meeting with the Chinese in Beijing. He was going to take this trip at the end of March, early April. Originally, that got put back to May 14th, but that's always been a marker. And that's been a marker that he's not going to go and sit down with Xi Jinping if we're actively involved in a military engagement with Iran. It's just not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, this is, man, I'll tell you what, I'm ecstatic. I mean, frankly, I mean, for people who, I've been waiting for this. I mean, the alternative, Jack, I mean, is, this is good. This is a positive development. Don't you agree?
Well, I think it's a very positive development, a strong development for everyone, unless you have the politics of, I don't know, certain incumbent senators from South Carolina named Lindsey Graham. And you're seeing a lot of these guys just punching air right now. You're seeing a lot of people, kind of on that side of the aisle, the neocon side, just being very in their feelings, as the kids say, about, where are the bombs? I thought we were going. They wanted. There were people, Rich, who wanted, and I'm not saying it's a large amount of people, but there were a sliver of people who wanted to see an actual World War III level engagement tonight, which is just insane. It's so reckless. It's so bad for world security, and that's why I gotta hand to the president, who certainly I have been skeptical of this, as many others. But he's pumping the brakes and saying this is the moment we stop and talk.
Yeah, I got to tell you, guys, I agree with that, because man, we just had certain Fox News hosts, more than insinuating maybe you should use non-conventional weapons. I mean, there were people that talk about in their feelings. I mean, this is good. I'm very pleased to hear this. I've been in the elections, and I knew that there was, I should have kept an eye out better for it, but this is like a welcome. This is welcome good news in an otherwise dark stream.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I'm certainly sure that it's going to have an effect on the elections. Maybe not immediately, but over time. And still quite 8 months until. 7 months until November.
Yeah.
And so, substantial amount of time, so many things can change. And it's funny. I was at my kid's baseball practice. I had my kids in Little League, and they had baseball practice. And it's funny because one of the other dads comes up to me and says, it goes, because they know what I do, and they go, Jack, can you believe we're out here watching the kids play baseball when World War III starts in 3 hours? We'll see. But I was where we go to play. I don't know. I was watching them play. I was doing videos, that kind of thing. Get your elbow up, all that. And I didn't even see this until I came in to go do a live stream myself on Real America's Voice. And that's when I looked at my phone and said, "Oh my gosh, wow, look at that!" And the president broke the news himself.
Yeah, let's say for people who are like upset, how is this not a good development? I mean, if you would have kept going down this path for the election, I think it would have just been worse for us in the elections. If we would have continued down this path, no matter any way you slice it, it has to be positive. That's right. That's right, bro. Exactly.
If you want to continue paying $4.50 for your gas, no one's going to stop you. You can walk into the gas station and pay extra whenever I'm sure they won't mind.
Yeah.
If you want to go pay more, $5 a gallon, whatever, $7, I guess, if you're in California, go right ahead.
Knock yourself out.
Stop you.
Knock yourself out. Mark.
But for the rest of us who want to see stability, who want to get to a place where everyone's doing better, and want to get into a place where we're competitive in these elections, in the midterms, where we can, hold the Senate and then make it a fight for the House. I think this puts us on the path to do that.
Yeah. I mean, look, you got Mark Levin out here. I got to get you to react to this real quick, and then I'm probably gonna. I mean, this is the perfect way to end the stream, honestly. But he's out here already. I got to ask you about our buddy Mark. He says, the 2-week ceasefire is being violated right now by the Iranian Nazi regime. Missiles are being fired into Israel. And he just goes on and on. They don't want peace. They just don't want peace, Jack. They have problems with peace, and they had a goal here, and they're just not going to be happy.
I'm going to be magnanimous, and I said something on my show the other day, and Mark's, certainly had his. You're like that. We're both Philly guys. Look, everybody knows in Philly, we like to talk.
Let's
like
scrap a little, scrapper.
Yeah, that's how Philly is. He's from Cheltenham. I'm from Norristown area, and look, it's real simple. It's real simple. It's Mark had a phenomenal book on the Supreme Court a couple of years back. You guys remember that one, The Men in Black, that he wrote some years back when. And I thought that was a phenomenal book, and I think that he should be working on a sequel to that right now. I think that's the best use of it.
That's fantastic. You are much more magnanimous than me, my brother. That's for sure.
I think it'd be better for the country. I think it probably be better for its and I'm sure his cardiologist would appreciate it as well.
Oh man, I got to tell you, I don't know how much sleep the vice president's getting these days. Now he's on to the next.
He's on to the next. And he's over there with giving a hand up to Viktor Orban, who is he's polling down. He's polling very down. Fidesz has been in power for a generation, a political generation right now. I think something like almost 2 decades. It's like 16 years they've been in power, and it is tough to hold on to power in the government that long. It really is. For anyone, right? And
yeah, it's true.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. Plus, people, I think if Orban does not pull this off, I think there's going to be people who say, oh, this was the rights man in Europe, and that means the right wing is going down and the wave of populism is over. And I said, no, I think that has more to do with, look, the economy is rough in Hungary right now. It's because of the Ukraine war. The economy is rough all over. It is what it is. I mean, that plays much more of a role it's what happened to the Law and Justice Party in Poland. But what happened was the electorate still moved to the right on issues like immigration and culture, even when going against the party in power in subsequent elections. And people misread that when it happened to Poland. And then what did Poland do in the next national election, which is the presidential election? They voted for the conservative on the same questions of immigration, culture, etc. So I'm just saying, if that happens, I don't think people should take the wrong message from it. I'm sure that's what Politico Europe is going to be, crowing, and all the globalists are going to be saying, oh my gosh, we finally got rid of this thorn in our side. But the electorate is still going to be there. And these you look at the gains that are being made by AfD and so many others of these parties, these real right-wing parties across Europe. It ain't going anywhere. It's moving. If anything, it's moving in a direction that the globalists really don't want.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just hard to stay in power that long. And he's had some hairy ones already that, in the past. The bottom line is it's like a Reagan kind of shift in the culture, a Reagan kind of shift in the policy. Yes. I mean, they really made gains. Those were real gains, real wins. And they were they were our bulwark over there for 2 decades. They held the line
with these parties. And I remember seeing this in Poland in 2024, where you kind of become a victim of your own success.
Yes.
Because when you're successful on the question of immigration, suddenly people don't care about immigration.
That's right.
They're looking at other things, and they say, well, maybe we can have a little bit of this over here and a little bit more public services, and worried about economy more, and they miss all the good that's being done on things like, think of it, right? Trump can't run we're seeing it right now.
I was just going to say that.
Trump can't run on the border because he solved it.
And it's not really fair. It's human nature. It's like,
but if you don't, and Rich, that's why you're good at what you do, because you understand how voters think and you understand how elections work in a way that, unfortunately, a lot of politicians and a whole lot of consultants out there just don't get.
And I appreciate that. I can't tell you how much I hear that from people. Like, why don't we get credit on this? Why don't they see that? And it's like, it's a human condition, and you are a victim of your own success. We saw that with the Trump administration in the first term as well. The border was a show back then as well. It wasn't as bad as it was when he had to take the reins from Biden again, but it was bad.
I was with a different situation, but it's similar because I was teaching my kids about, telling my kids more about the space program, right? Because, Artemis and everything.
Just amazing.
You know, and it's so cool. And so they broke the record for Apollo 13. And they're like, what's Apollo 13? So we sat down, we watched it. It was so good, right? But think about it. Apollo 13, something goes wrong. There's a whole movie about it. We still talk about, but nobody talks about 14, 15, 16, 17 that actually made it to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's the psychology, right? We talk about the one that failed and it's a better story and the narrative, but the guys that were successful afterwards, we don't talk about them. There's no movies, there's no, you know, and it stinks, but that's just reality. And if you're operating in politics in a liberal democracy, you have to understand that.
That's right. And Americans are forward thinkers, which again, that's why what happened here tonight. You know, I may not sound like it all the time, but I am eternally optimistic. I know that sounds crazy. People are going to be like, what? No, you're not. No, I really am, because Americans think about the future. They want to talk about what's coming next all the time, you know? So it's a bit of a double-edged sword where you can be a victim of your own success, but also they will also be understanding with you on a lot, and you can try to turn the page. And
I will say this, and I want to say this in a way that's, I can't say who I said it to, but it was something like this. It was, look, at the end of the day, if people know you as somebody who goes out and slays dragons, they don't want to just sit and watch you hang out and do whatever.
Yeah.
They want to see you going out and slaying dragons, which means you got to go find a new dragon to go out and slay.
Yeah, that's right.
What they want more.
That's such great advice. I think everybody understands what you mean by that too. Go find another dragon to slay. That's great advice.
It'd be like watching a sports team. You win the Super Bowl, and then you come back the next season. It's like, well, you got to see if you can do it again.
Yeah.
Right? Who cares if you won it last year? You're going to win this year.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I always tell, I've been a lot of professional fighters in my day, and it's like, listen, you know what? Because at some point you always get those, no matter how great they are, they always have that one where it's like, they just shouldn't have fought that guy, you know? The Iceman, he just should have like ended it when he could before he went against Ortiz again, you know, kind of thing. But politics is different.
About this all the time, by the way. He talks about the peak, and that he wants to explain it, but he can never get it across. And then you just see him, and it's like, guys, you know, man.
That's funny stuff. So what do you got going on for tomorrow on Human Events?
Look, I think what we're going to do is, you know, I'm going to be up late because I want to see where this thing shakes out. I'm you know, working my source chain as well, inside and outside of government. You know, I was at the White House yesterday, and we're there for the Easter egg roll, but you know, which is amazing, and honored to be there. But you know, it's also a time you kind of see who's
it's a good opportunity.
Sort of
Yeah.
Yeah, you bump into people, and
sure.
And so it's, you know, and so it's one thing because you're there with the families, but you know, you see who you see, and then you kind of warm the relationship a little bit. So, you know, going back through some of the Rolodex there and just see how this shook out. I'll say this, I'm not surprised. There were some pieces of this that I had kind of heard coming, but you know, at the same time with the president, it could be anything at any time. He's the one who ultimately makes the decision.
Yeah.
And he could have said no, and he could have said, you know, bombs away, and he ultimately didn't. And that is his choice, and he deserves all the credit for it. He really does. Yeah,
I'm glad. It is. I'm telling you, I can't stress this enough. I think this is the right move today. You know, just looking at the polling, talking to people, I think it was a little bit of anxiety creeping up, you know, leading up to it. You know, we might have saw some people with the countdown clocks on their news programs and having a field day, like you said, you know, waiting in anticipation. But I think Americans, they wanted to see this.
Imagine if you had gone so far as to put a countdown clock on your news program only to end up with this.
Could you? When you said that, and one of the first things I thought about was, oh my God, you pulled the Running Man for nothing. The Running Man. And folks, for those who don't know what we're talking about, like, do you remember that, especially the Schwarzenegger version right?
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
haven't seen the new one yet.
Yeah.
I have it downloaded. I haven't watched it yet.
it's pretty good. Honestly, it's pretty good.
I heard it was good.
It is. I was like pleasantly surprised. I thought we were going to get some kind of crazy thing, a gender swap I couldn't tolerate or something. It was good. And, they kept the spirit of it. The network is still the network. You know what I mean? It's like that.
Yeah.
It's that role. So, I'm like looking at some of this stuff today and I'm thinking to myself, this is like completely indistinguishable from the Running Man. This is like what we've become. So imagine putting that countdown clock up for absolutely nothing. Praise God. Thank God. Because it's the Tuesday after Easter. I hope you had a good Easter. You have a good Easter? I had a great Easter. Who wants to deal with this?
I had a phenomenal Easter, dude. We took the kids to see the Mario movie at the drive-in theater, which was awesome.
Oh, awesome.
The place was packed. And then they had Project Hail Mary afterwards. Just, again, space stuff. Just cool, good, classic movie.
That's the stuff I want to talk about. Artemis 2 is amazing. It's like the latest in a laundry list, a long list of stuff that Donald Trump has done for space. Like, these are the things I want to talk about.
By the way, you want to talk about the message of that is people don't understand the Artemis program. So that's Artemis 2. Artemis 4, right? So just 2 more after this, they plan to land on the moon again.
Yeah.
So that's by 2028. So that'll be the election year. So if JD is coming up, then, and he ends up running, that'll obviously be something he can focus on. And the ultimate goal of the Artemis program is, if I understand this correctly, is looking to establish lunar bases.
That's right.
I don't think people have been talking about it enough.
That's right. I look, I'm a bit of a nerd with this stuff. My son, he wants to be an aerospace engineer. And this is just like incredibly exciting stuff. You think about what our kids are going to see. We'll see a lot of it too. But I mean, what our kids are going to see because of the stuff that he's doing now, even during the first administration, Jack, putting that scope in the sky, Obama like raped the NASA budget and we didn't have the money.
Rich, I was just going to say that of all the things that you could point to Barack Obama for, and this one is never going to get this much attention just compared to some of the other things. And it's never going to, I tweeted, it's never going to get the most retweets, but just for me personally, I've always thought the thing that actually makes me more upset than anything was when he ended the space program.
Yeah.
And he robbed our children. He robbed our children of hope for the future. And he took that away from the entire country. And he took that vision that we used to have. And I remember when I had my kids, I used to think, when I was a kid, this country had spaceships. And we used to watch them take off and see how amazing it was and talk about what the future would be like. And then all of a sudden you have George W. Bush focuses on the Middle East, and then Obama comes in and it all becomes about reparations and redistribution of wealth and all the rest. And suddenly we don't even talk the way we used to talk anymore. And and we put our spaceships in museums. And I remember watching when, I forget the name, I think it was maybe in Denver, when they flew it around DC that one day. I was still in the Intel community. And they had it on the back of that plane, and they flew it to the Smithsonian.
And they brought it. They laid it to rest.
And we all got up and watched. And everyone's talking about how cool it was, and I was so sad.
Me too.
I remember looking at that going, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Like, this is not a good moment. This is depressing. They're literally taking our dreams.
I was heartbroken. I said, how can this be the final? What do you mean it's the final flight? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
100%. We were supposed to reach for the stars. Now we're putting it in a box and stuffing it in the bottom of the closet, shooing it away. I mean, this is it's about unity. It's about national unity.
From that day until Artemis, I haven't felt the same way. And Elon stuff, don't get me wrong, as great as that is, there's just something different when it's got that national program on it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The American flag and NASA and all that. And I'd love to see SpaceX incorporated, work them in more. But I don't know. There's something about manned official space flight. That's it. And I love SpaceX. Don't get me wrong, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and there's something about it too, where it breeds national unity. It's something we all can get behind. Even in, we had in the 20th century when we had those moments, it wasn't like our society wasn't filled with strife and we weren't, unstable with domestic things going on. That's the kind of stuff that brought us together. If you remember JFK, look what he's remembered for. It's not like he won that election in a landslide, Jack. We used that space program.
Some say that he didn't win it at
all.
Some
right? Say Daddy won it for him, right?
Let's go talk about some of those Chicago awards.
That's right. And then later, the guy who gets screwed from that, takes us home. It's like it's a perfect American story. JFK issues the challenge.
Yep.
Nixon brings it home. I mean, it's a part. It gives us it's a part for all of us. Doesn't really matter what your partisan affiliation is, and you can say, you know what, we did that together. If there's one last thing that we can share, it's that. And I do love Elon's vision. Because I'm with you 100%. We got it. That's NASA makes it national and it makes it ours, right? But I do share Elon's vision. I do. I'm a little bit quirky like that. I want to branch out. I feel like we need to. It always drives me nuts how these progressives who think the world's going to end in 12 years from climate change, they just have no motive. They have no motivation whatsoever, despite the fact that the world's going to end in 12 years, to go and branch out and explore other parts of the solar system and the universe. And it's like they have no priority for that whatsoever. It's just insane to me. It doesn't make any logical sense. So I always did share his vision for that. And those pictures, which somebody when I was streaming told me to look up, I didn't see the moon pictures until they brought it up in the chat. And then I looked at it and it's just amazing. It's incredible. Matt Walsh is right. It's like, wish we were talking about that, and now we can. That's why, again, like we say, be cautiously optimistic, but this is good. It's good. We'll have some time now to hopefully build on this and move forward.
No, I think it's exactly right. And just all the things. I mean, by the way, like the housing bill, right? The 21st century housing bill that nobody's talking about, that the White House is putting forward and is working its way through Congress. It's a good bill.
It is a good bill.
Because it focuses on the single payer. It gets BlackRock and those guys out of the business. I mean, it's great. It's something. By the way, it's something that Charlie Kirk fought for a lot.
Yeah, he did.
And when he went on Tucker, this was a huge thing that he talked about, and that was sort of his last, big piece to come in on, and said, look, if we want Gen Z to stay part of the coalition, we got to deliver for them, and housing is a way to do that.
Yeah.
And the fact that the White House has been making this push, it's just so buried by everything else that's going on in the news that now maybe we can actually talk about it.
Yeah, now we can get some breathing room. We can talk about it. Yeah, when I was at the White House too, that I told them, I think that's like the one thing that you can tell this generation. That's the one way where you can, how you can tell them, like, we care about you, right? Because one of their biggest fears is housing and their ability. I mean, look, most Americans' wealth are tied up in their homes, their property, what they own. Even if they're mortgaging it, doesn't matter. That's most of their assets are tied up in. That's the promise. It's like nothing is the American dream more than being able to own your own home. And this is the way to tell them, we hear you, we're trying, we care, we're doing this. And it is a good bill. You're right. It's a good bill. And they were excited for it at during the holidays, and they were getting, to
basically
to
it's like, I just want to go back to everything we talked about in the State of the
Union.
Right?
Yeah.
Was that like towards the end of February, whenever that was?
Yeah.
That was so good. And that's the agenda for me. That's the 2026 agenda. And if the Republicans want to focus on that, then do it. And by the way, nationalize the election and say, hey, you know what else we're going to do? We're going to put up, because we might have to, a constitutional amendment on illegal immigration and birthright citizenship.
Yeah, because we don't know how this ruling is going to end up. And also too, let's say the VRA comes through. I mean, we can make that part of the argument too. Like, we have to implement this. If we don't win these elections, we're not the ones who are going to implement it. I mean, we need to fire up the base, and they'll understand that. The base will understand it. The housing stuff, especially, though, that's for the people in the middle. We need to bring back to the fold. But there's a reason he got the bump he got after the State of the Union. That was not a normal bump, right? I mean, it just wasn't. I told you that. I showed Andrew that. Like, that bump is a big bump for a State of the Union speech, which most people are completely desensitized to.
Well, and it wasn't just a speech, though. It was a spectacle.
Yeah.
It was a performance. It was a tour de force. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was, it's funny because actually, Andrew Colvat, our mutual friend, he actually went to the State of the Union, because I originally asked him, I said, hey, are we going to do a live stream? Because it's, it's State of the Union. We was just, Charlie used to always do them, and we would come on and co-host. And he was like, well, I'm actually planning to go this year. And I think he got, Andy Ogle's got him tickets or something. And I said, what do you want to go for? State of the Union, they're so boring. Just get up and talk.
If you knew. If you knew,
and
right?
I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, man, I wish I was there.
Damn, Andrew.
That would have been the one to go to.
Yeah.
I don't know if he knew or what, or just kind of worked out that way. Man,
that's
the one
funny.
To go to.
Yeah, that's funny, man. Because most of the time you just nod off after 10 minutes in a State of the Union,
Oh my gosh. And then at least you could be on Twitter, doing your thing. I'm like, that's where I would be, if anyone knows me. But man, no, it was incredible, because it wasn't a speech, it was a show, it was a performance. You had the multiple medals of honor, you had the helicopter pilot from the Venezuela Maduro
the
raid.
Men's team. That moment was great.
You got the men's team.
Yeah.
Again, by the way, a national moment.
Yep.
Right? A national moment that unifies people. And then you had the families, right? It's the mother and father of Irina Zarutska, and they're sitting next to Erica Kirk.
Oof. Yeah.
I mean, just because I remember I'm watching that, and you playing that game of like who's who in the zoo, and because obviously we knew that Erica would be there, but then the way it is, she didn't even get a +1, because the space is just so limited in the house like that. And she's there, and I'm sitting watching the feed. I say, who's she sitting next to? I couldn't tell who it was. I didn't recognize him at all. I didn't know it was Adam. And then when they announced who it was, I said, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you think about, because they came all the way from Ukraine, so you think about the logistics that had to go into something like that. And it just shows you. That was, to me, one of the finest. That was probably the best State of the Union I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it was good. It was that was very good. Even, you know what? I remember Obama's first one, and it was just like, that's it? Because you expected more from Barack Obama, and you thought, okay, that's it. And then I think it was his second one when he attacked Scalia and the court, and then Scalia was like, not true. What right in front. Right in front, Jack.
That's really what started the justices not going.
Yeah. That was a totally new moment for a State of the Union. That was something that was, we just didn't see things like that. And, and then over Obama's era, man, so much of that stuff was challenged. Supposedly the Democrats who care about norms and institutions, right? They're so full
of it. We hear about
it.
all these norms now, and they say, oh, Trump's the one breaking them. But there's so many points that we could go back to that were changed in the Obama era.
That's right.
Which, by the way, and it was him breaking those norms that changed politics to the point and opened it up to the point where a guy like Donald Trump could run at all.
Yeah, right. That's true. I always try to tell leftists that, you lamenting about where Donald Trump came from, you need to get up and go look in the mirror. The same thing with the neocon establishment, they're just lamenting how Trumpism rose to prominence. Well, get up and go look in the mirror, because everything you always claim to care about or want to preserve, or you held up with high regard and you revered, you were the ones who were threatening it. You were always the ones who were attacking it. So they opened that lane up. They made it possible for him for someone like Trump to even challenge it, because
people got so fed up.
Yeah, it's just like they're not
so
serious.
Fed up, and they're saying, "Wait a minute, what good are all these rules if everybody's breaking them, and I keep getting screwed anyway?"
Well, exactly, and I keep getting scred anyways. Definitely the key point of that.
Becomes, you know what? Maybe I don't want to play by the rules anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, brother. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off on the stream over here. It's 10:03. You're gonna be up for a while, huh?
I'll be up all night.
Yeah, I figured as much.
And my other phone's has rung like 3 or 4 times.
I was gonna say,
I don't know if you guys can hear that over the. thing.
We can't, but that's all right.
No,
even if we could.
no, it's good though. It's all good. Lot kicking off. And look, I'm just gonna say that beyond, the
We hear it now.
yeah, there it goes. Yeah, beyond the war itself, the military side of this, politically speaking, there's going to be a lot of winners and losers in all this too.
Yeah, there is.
And that's going to be what we're looking at. And there's going to be people who wanted World War III and got way further than they ever should have been.
Yeah,
and further than quite frankly that's even reasonable. And
yes,
you gotta ask why they did that. You really do.
That's right. Exactly. All right, brother.
There's this huge parlor game coming out of the New York Times piece today. Who leaked it, who massaged it, the whole thing with Swan and all. Was it JD? Was it Susie, etc.?
I was just reading that before they.
yeah. So the big game in DC is who leaked it. But ultimately though, what are you not seeing? You're not seeing a lot of people come out and deny it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that. That's
right. It's and that's always the show, isn't it? And it's like, who leaked it? But if they're not saying who, if nobody is challenging any of the veracity of anything said, then that speaks for itself, right?
Look, Jonathan Swan's got solid sources. He's always had them. The guy works really hard. People don't put him in the same bucket, I think, as others at the New York Times and CNN because he does the work.
Yeah, I busted his balls a little bit. One time he quoted me. I think it was a poll that actually Trafalgar did in Michigan. And I was like, bro, you owe me a correction, but he reached out. You know what I'm saying? He reached out. He did the work.
Did he actually correct it?
Yeah, I believe he did. I believe he did. I have to go and look it up, but I think he did. Somebody
out at Axios years ago.
That's right. He started there. That's right.
I had the same exact story happen to me. Something happened, and I was able to find, I don't know, I forget if it was his contact info or just Twitter or whatever. And I said, hey man, you actually wrote this wrong. This isn't where I stand. This isn't where I stand for on a certain thing. Could you change this? And he did. Right away.
Yeah, I was lamenting about it earlier when I saw this piece, and I was literally talking about it live. And I brought that up, and I guess somebody, one of the guys from RCP, was listening to the stream, and he messaged me, and he said, "No, man, that's not there anymore. So you're not in that paragraph anymore." And it was you know what it was about? It was a paragraph about how all the Trump pollsters, which they love to call Trump pollsters, that did well during the presidential races, missed some pretty bad states in 22, but it wasn't us. We didn't, and it was I didn't even poll Michigan or something like that. So yeah, I wanted it gone, of course, but you know how it is. The media does that. If that's the most terrible thing he's done, it's not anywhere near as bad as some of the others. That.
Even if he got something wrong.
Yeah,
which everybody's going to get something wrong.
People get things wrong.
Yeah, made a correction at all.
Yeah,
that just saying that shows something that you don't see from a lot of other folks.
Yeah, folks, just so you know. Yeah, I was just going to say, folks, just so you know, if most of these people, Jack or I, will call them and say this isn't right, they'll just ignore you. They'll just ignor you.
Jake Tapper actually has my my cell phone number blocked.
That's terrible. But a journalist, right? He's blocked your number.
As a journalist, right? As a journalist, he's got me blocked.
Unbelievable.
That's okay, Jake. That's okay. We'll talk about your behavior in the backseat of Ubers and running around DC.
Oh no!
Did I say that on the live stream?
Yeah, these guys get away with murder, bro.
DC's a small town. People talk.
It really is, isn't it? It's amazing. Never ceases to amaze me how careless some people can be. DC is a small town. People talk, man. That's for sure. All right, brother. Let me wrap this thing up. I'll talk to you soon. I'll hit you up in a little bit, man. See if you heard anything.
Thanks,
there.
Rich. Yeah,
thanks, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll see you, man.
Jack Poso, ladies and gentlemen. That was a treat. That was a nice treat. I was just going to pick it up and tell him I'll call him back. He just gave us probably, I don't know, good. That's good, though. That's great. Man, that made my night because these election results suck. That made my night. At some point, we got to be able to pivot here. And I'll just say this again for the millionth time. War sucks all the oxygen out of the room. And I remember when I was at the White House, they were like really frustrated. They were like, it doesn't matter. Whatever we do, whatever we say, all they want to talk about is foreign policy. And at that time, I mean, we all knew what the lobby was doing. And part of it was just like the president, he wants to answer all their questions. And so no matter what they'll say at a press conference, he won't think of it like, I can't answer that. I have to starve them of this headline because we're here to talk about, I think that one was about healthcare. And they asked him a question about Venezuela and he answered it. And I'm like, because I like literally just said, don't answer that. Barack Obama will always be like, whoa, Ducey, Peter Ducey. Because it was always like Peter Ducey or something. Peter, we're not here to talk about Benghazi. We're here to talk about healthcare, and that would be it. That would be it. And Peter wouldn't have anything to write. And he would starve them of that headline. And they may go out and write and print their own crap, but it's just uninteresting and nobody cares. And it's not going to be a narrative maker. So there's just no way to conduct a war and to pursue a domestic policy agenda. There's just no way to do it. And that's what I've been trying to tell people for a year. So I'm ecstatic about this. Man, I just, Jack's right. The president at the end of the day is the boss. So you got to give him credit for saying, okay, let's try this. You can see all the neocons on Twitter right now, guys. Go look at it. You'll see they're pissed. They are not happy. Lindsey Graham is faking. Jack's right. He's faking being happy. He's like, the president's with his great leadership got this deal. But I just want to say, I am going to reserve. He literally wrote, I'm going to reserve judgment. And, this, that, the other thing. And Mark Levin is saying, how could you enter a ceasefire when they're breaking a ceasefire right now? Like, okay, bro. Because Israel's not lobbing missiles over at Iran, too. Come on, bro. Just stop, bro. He's so this guy is like, Jack, you are more magnanimous than me, brother. I think Mark Levin is a supremacist and a death worshiper, and that's it. I think what it comes down to is that there is part of this generation that is just eternally scared of something. And Glenn Greenwald, by the way, who is Jewish, he's right. There's like this part of that generation that just feels like they're eternally under threat. Like the Fourth Reich is always around the corner and it's always coming to get them. And that's all there is to it. So they're never going to feel safe unless they're constantly like attacking somebody else. Like I get that. And I don't get it because of course I'm not Jewish. So I can't really like 100% get it, but I do understand. Obviously I'm not an idiot. I understand where that mentality would come from. I just don't sympathize with it because I think a lot of groups around the world could make that same case. I do. And if we were always doing that and living like that as a human as part of our human condition, then we'll forever be in conflict with each other. And that's just not a viable thing. It's just not. War does not always result in progress. It results in change, great change often, but it doesn't always result in progress. And I would argue the great technological leaps in the 20th century, yes, we had the war, we had the atomic bomb, we split the atom, all that. But it wasn't until we entered the non-kinetic Cold War in a bipolar system where we really were just like leaps and bounds. And then, of course, there's the peace dividend, which we've never really got to enjoy. Never. And anytime we've ever had a chance to try to enjoy it, and I'll use they loosely, they take it from us. There has to be something. We have the peace dividend at the end of the 90s. You have George Bush running as, you know what? We can't be the world's policeman. We need to stay home, give our people tax cuts, blow the economy up. And then what happened? And then you have to wait 16 years for Donald Trump to come around and say, all of this was stupid. We overreacted. We need to deal with our own people at home. Like Jack just said, our own infrastructure, our own this, our own that. And what do? They unleash a deadly virus on the world to get rid of them. We haven't even been able to try to enjoy a peace dividend in our lifetime. I've seen glimpses of it, but none of us have ever gotten a chance to actually enjoy it, right? All right, so I think it's about time to get cooking here. I think we're at a place where we know how this is going, right? Don't we? Sadly, I think so. That is a good article with Jack, how Trump took the U.S. to war with Iran. I started to read it with you a little bit earlier that Jack just brought up. Everyone's pissed about who talked to Jonathan Swan, who talked to Maggie Haberman, but nobody's actually questioning the veracity of the story, which makes Israel look really, really bad. It makes them look bad. And some in the administration, I can imagine how they think it makes them look bad too. And I do think it's not flattering to the president at all. But shit, it makes Vice President Vance look like a rock star. I mean, so, someone's going to be like, oh, I wonder who leaked it. How could he leak it? He's all over the world. I don't think he did. That is a long-term project. If you guys go and read that article, you will see. That is a long-term project. They want to turn it into a book. That is not like somebody now just leaked it. Very interesting, though. Super interesting. All right, so with that in mind, we can take a look at this really quick one more time. I do want to see how Georgia ended up. The Waukesha mayor. Let's do a little roundabout here. Obviously, Republicans are getting their ass kicked in Wisconsin. It will. I think it is likely to tighten somewhat, but it's not like it matters. It is what it is. Kenosha's scary. Not going to lie to you. Kenosha's a little scary. She won, and she won easily. I'm telling you, it's like these partisans on social media. They want to live in their own realities. And I'm telling you, look, there you go. There's a perfect example. Kenosha, Waukesha. These people will vote for Trump and then turn right around and vote for a Democrat. No problem. The world is not the way you want it to be. You must exist in the world as it is. You must acknowledge the reality that is true, that is real, not the reality that you want. And that has been the rights problem now for well over a year. All right, this hasn't been called yet. This is close. Scott Allen, who is technically the conservative in the race, is not that far behind Alicia Halvin-Sleben. There is less than 300 votes that separate them. I don't know if there are any more out. It doesn't have much here. It just looks like it is what it is. We will have to see that race. We'll visit tomorrow when we do the son of a bitch, when we do the show. Okay. Looks like with almost all of the votes in Georgia, House 14, the Republican Clayton Fuller, obviously he's won. He's up by less than 15 points. It's right now about a 22.5 point underperformance by the Republican. This is the district for Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is what is not, this concerns me. I'm not going to lie, guys. This concerns me badly because it would be a flashpoint for us to tell us, you know, I mean, I don't want to hear the special election excuse. I'm sick of hearing that shit. We are way beyond that. This is there is never a situation in life, whether it's politics, life, love, loss, whatever. You do not have a problem and ignore a problem. It will never get better. Never will you do that and the situation will improve or get better. Never. I have to actually give some credit to Democrats. I don't think they've done a great job rebranding themselves yet, but I see what they're going to do. And you have to give them credit for it because they finally, it took them a long time, but they finally acknowledged that they have a problem, you know, and, you know, it is what it is. You know what, Hog Boy? I just want to put your comment up. I do see what you're saying. I see your point. I do. And what he said is with respect, Rich, I think Poso was wrong for framing this as a W for Trump. Iran keeps control of the Strait, sanction relief. It's a lot of cope. Listen, I just want it to end. Honestly, at this point, I really, 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 really want it to end. And that's why he white-pilled me in a little bit. It's got to end. Listen, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't really think there's anything at this point that Republicans can do to like turn this around. maybe we can get in a position where we see them fight for control of the Senate. The House, I think, is cooked. I just do. I think that there is probably in the realm of a 12% chance, not probably, I'm doing the math in my head right now. There's like a 12% chance that, okay, actually, let me say this totally correctly. If you look at the generic ballot model, and then we have our own spin-off of the generic ballot model, there's like a 12% chance that Republicans could buck history. I know what needs to be done for them to do that, which makes me so much more bearish on that. But at the very least, I want to see the damage mitigated. Like, perform like this, like this tonight, and this is a generational loss. This is a bloodbath of generational, like, epic proportions. I don't want to see that. All right. So at this point, I don't care. I really don't care if he doesn't have the straight. He'll force us to do what we have to do to get our own damn oil. I mean, I would have liked to see us leave the Middle East under our circumstances. I never agree with the security agreements there. I just didn't. I knew, because in part it's a soldier in me. It's bullshit. It was never possible for us to. There's no real dome, guys. I mean, it's like this idea of the Iron Dome, even in Israel itself, fails a lot. So the idea that we would be able to protect the GCC is just unbelievable. You know, can we protect Japan against North Korea? No, not really. We can not protect them in the way that we have led the world and ourselves to believe we can. Yes, we can defend them in the sense that we can make an attack hurt. We can punish someone for it, but we can't just stop them from attacking our allies. So I've always wanted to kind of like leave like a realist, you know, not leave because we were like pushed or hurt or been exposed or whatever. But at this point, I really think every day that goes by and this war continues is like another seat lost. I mean, I really believe that at this point. And the reason why, again, I'm saying, like, I have to say this totally honest, is that just with the generic ballot modeling, you're talking about like a 12% chance. But if you were to use like the war model, it's like without fail, Republicans are going to lose. They're going to lose badly too. But again, I think the question is how bad. And do we really want to get into, like, after yesterday's show, there were people who are contacting me saying, Barnes has lost it. That's crazy. Nebraska, bro? Like, you didn't listen to a fucking word we said. Yes, Nebraska. There's an independent there. Republicans are losing independents by upwards of 40 points in some of these contests. You will suddenly see Nebraska gone. Kenosha has more Republicans, guys, than it does Democrats. She just lost it easily. I mean, this is like I don't think they understand here. Montana, it could get so bad, Montana could go. I mean, it's a cheap state to run in. You have that many people who just don't show up on the Republican side. You lose independents by 20 plus points. And suddenly it's a very close race. Let's not forget John Tester won Montana quite a bit. It took Donald Trump getting rid of John Tester. Republicans couldn't even get rid of him on their own. Trump needed to be on the ballot again to get rid of Tester. I mean, we just forget this stuff, you know? I mean, it's like, and Trump literally had to go out and get him. And he tried once and he still didn't get him. That's the truth. He tried to campaign to get rid of Tester, and he couldn't get him. He fell 2 points, a little bit, 2.2. By the way, our Montana poll that year was perfectly spot on. It was Tester by like 2.2 or 2.4, something like that. Whatever it was perfect. And Trump needed to be on the ballot to finally get rid of that SOB. I mean, it was like, you know, and actually I have it right here. And still, man, it wasn't that. It was Sheehy 52.6, John Tester 45.5. And that's with Trump on that ballot, crushing in Montana, crushing. Let me see, Montana president. He ran, holy shit. He ran 13 points behind Donald Trump. Tim Sheehy, 13 points. So again, like these people who are like, oh, those states won't fall. You don't know what you're talking about. They absolutely can fall. Republicans have a lot of red states, a lot of them that are like fake red. Democrats don't really have any fake blue states. Kansas, these plain states. Did we not even go over like the history of these states? And then I literally got blown up with messages, text messages and everything from all these people, consultants, influencers, this one, that one, party people. Bro, Nebraska, Barnes has lost it. Bro, watch the fucking show. No, he didn't. If it gets that bad and we're paying $6 a gallon, you're losing your underwear in this election. People just have this fun again. They just have this false sense of security. We had to go over Ohio. People say, there's no way Ohio's going to flip. Trump won Ohio by 13 points. Right. And Bernie Moreno did not. It's like we can just repeat the same thing over and over and over again. So at this point, and it doesn't sink in. It's so frustrating sometimes. I'll be honest with you. It is. People are stupid, but they offer copium and hope and it like sells, but they're retarded. And what they're offering is doom, really. That's what they're offering, doom. And it's sad because some people buy it. They would rather be duped. But I am of the mind where at this point, I just want the hostility. I just want the war to end. And listen, I would love for Donald Trump to just come out and say, well, I F that up. But he won't, unfortunately. But a sister soldier moment is needed with Israel. That's got to happen. The stain from Israel is going to be on us and then also how we behaved during this conflict is going to haunt us forever. And there's idiots bringing up World War II and all this. Right. We don't behave like that because our morality and our might is right. That has held the world together for years. They don't do things like that because the United States has been there to say that's not acceptable for a great power. Great powers cannot act like that. And we just did. We just rolled around in the mud with the pigs. That's what we did. Oh my God, he just said Israel's pigs. Yup. I did. We are not supposed to kill innocent people and children and cheerlead for neutron bombs. We're supposed to be the one nation in the world who has learned that lesson and vowed to never do it again. Meanwhile, thank God Trump did do this because, you know, I watch people all day today on social media downplay the possibility of this. They've been talking about scenarios for nuclear weapons for weeks, dummies. You don't know what you're talking about. And the way that Israel has like been able to force us to do things or has done it and then made us take credit for it really concerned me. They wanted to use a nuclear weapon, but they aren't allowed to admit they have them. So if they would have used a nuclear weapon with everything we've seen before, they were openly debating using neutron bombs, they would have went to Trump and said, you got to take credit for this. I can tell you, I know for a fact he's already taken credit for certain things that are so disgusting. Just unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying a white pill here. I think we can win? No. I think Republicans are done. I mean, as far as like their competitiveness of like but we can mitigate the damage and we have to mitigate the damage. Otherwise, this could be generational. Look what happened in Virginia. We just can't have the equivalent of that all over the country. It'll take forever to dig ourselves out of it, you know? Woo! All right. I think I'm going to have to get to bed here shortly here, guys. I still haven't eaten. I'm going to have to go and eat, then get to bed, even though I don't like to eat that late. But if I don't, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to sit. I'm going to like get ready. I'm going to go, you know, go see Laura. I'm going to take it down. And then I'm going to sit there like gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. Oh, son of a bitch. And I won't be able to go to sleep. So now I just have to eat. But I do have to get up kind of early and get this poll crunched. Otherwise, I know this poll is going to take me a while to process. I know it is, because I have absolute faith in this model. I know it's right, and I need to make sure that this is done correctly and groups are represented correctly. All right, so I just don't want to give how we're going to do it. You'll probably be able to deduce what I mean when you see, like, there's always a methodology state. When you see that, you'll be able to deduce what I'm talking about. I just don't want to give it up now. I do understand someone else is also polling and they're trying to like beat us to the drop. That's fine, but it won't. What they release will not influence what I release at all. All I care about is whether I'm right. And yeah, so there's that. All right, let me go ahead and just do this shameless plug of my Instagram and my book before I go. Burn It Down, what the polls say young Americans really want. I think it's still number one in statistics in new releases, which is really cool. So don't forget to go get it. Pre-orders have a impact on overall sales when the book comes out. We'll also have Books A Million and other venues at some point soon. But it's up on Amazon right now. You can go grab it. What else am I missing here? The Gram at @peoples_pundit on Instagram. Go follow me on Instagram at @peoples_pundit. Of course, we're the same thing on X, and we are the same thing on Getter. We are not on Truth. It's just no underscore. But the best place to follow, as always, is on Locals. peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. But let's build up the Gram. Build up the Gram. And I'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon. All right, we'll go over some more of these results and talk about the poll. Woo! Good stream, guys. 3 hours, 30 minutes. Nothing but love for you. Thanks to everybody who put in, your chats and your shares and your super chats and your rants and all that. I don't know why the hell I can't see Rumble rants, but I can't. And I apologize for that if I missed your Rumble rant. But I signed on today and did not even address that. And before I did, I'll have to go and check it out. I'll see you guys noon Eastern Standard Time. All the best. As always, deuces. Don't forget, Massey leads under 65. Baldwin leads over 65.